Hello, and welcome back to the Luckycast. We're continuing on with our Anime of the Decade podcast here, and we're down to the top 10 for each of us. Brings up the question here, who wants to go first and get this segment kicked off?
Sure.
All right, let's do rock, paper, scissors.
Sure. I'll
rock,
go first.
Paper, scissors, shoot.
Go.
I threw rock. What about you?
So,
I got paper, bro.
my first retroactive, possibly number 11, I might have a three-way tie, I don't know. I haven't decided, but whatever. It's one of the 10 that are left to mention. Is Made in Abyss, which is a show that the more I thought about it, the more I liked it. I love how each segment has its own weird biome. There's the environment of the show, the tone of the entire adventure is uniquely oppressive in comparison to other adventure stuff that I saw throughout the decade. While I felt like the dynamic between the main two characters was kind of one note for a while, the moment they introduced, what's her name? Nanachi?
Nanachi.
Okay, Nanachi. The moment they introduced her, which is actually towards the tail end of the show, really, but it's paced so well that it feels like she's there the entire time. Her whole arc is just really well paced. And she kind of throws a wrench into their whole dynamic that I really liked. Show's gorgeous. Like I said, I just love each unique monster that they go up against, or at least environmental thing that they go up against. I enjoy the power dynamic of it, where Riko's fairly headstrong and knowledgeable of the Abyss, but obviously she needs a Reg. That's his name, right?
Yeah.
Reg there is a bodyguard, but he obviously has a get out of jail free card, but he's only got one per day. I freaking love Boundred as a villain. He might be one of my favorites of the decade because he seems so he's lacking in maliciousness in comparison to his
He was a shoo-in for the didn't do anything wrong award.
Yes. Yeah, he's a wonderful eccentric villain.
And
so that's my number 10.
We haven't really seen you read the manga, right?
This is a rare case where I did not go on to read the manga, although I probably will.
Because we didn't actually see why he's done nothing wrong yet, right?
No, we haven't. Although is the movie going to cover that?
Yeah, the movie is literally just that arc.
Okay, great, awesome. Yeah, I love that horror vibe that the whole show has. It does have like a kind of a horror edge to it that I loved.
Mm-hmm. Hello?
I thought we were only going to go. Should I continue on the 9? Because I thought we were just going to go do our 10s here. Steve didn't remember. Steve explained the whole thing before we started.
No, we're still doing it by 5s.
Oh, we're still doing it by 5s?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
You son of a bitch. Okay.
Well, do you guys want to do it the other way?
I thought it was like...
Yes.
Okay, so everyone do their number 10 then.
My yes holds a lot of sway. I'll go next. What was my number 10? Oh, yes. My number 10 was I believe, a show from last year? Maybe? Megalobox.
That was like 2
years ago.
Nice.
What wow?
No. I mean, I like Megalobox. I just wasn't expecting it to be that high.
Yeah, it's
No. I liked it.
Do you not remember when Funk would not shut up about Megalobox?
I wasn't watching anime at this point. I was taking a break.
Yeah, you came in at the tail end and just kind of scooped up Megalobox and watched it very fast. But it was... So I guess I lied. I think I said that Beauty on Ice was like the highest sports show, but that's obviously not true. Kind of forgot that boxing is a sport.
And it's kind of not real boxing, but...
Yeah, it's true.
One guy's real boxing.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's 50% real boxing.
I mean, I really like that about the show. Just this stupid, man versus machine, Joe versus the steam shovel thing they got going. whatever that guy's name was. Frank knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah. No, I get
Yeah.
you.
And it added a layer to the regular sports drama that heightened the atmosphere for me, because it's very visceral. I mean, boxing is very visceral to begin with, but then you just have these outrageous like exoskeletons and such. And it was a very easy show to get into, and I enjoyed the at times base level drama, like, oh, they owe money to the mafia type guy and he's violent and extracting the money, and it's like, oh, big deal. There's a kid, whatever. But it wasn't like a super unique show, but it just worked very well on just about every level. And I was a complete sucker for it. I loved it. I liked the dynamic between Joe and the I forget his name, but like his biggest rival, like the just the other best boxer. Yeah, that was great. You know, it was wonderful. It just hit every beat perfectly for a good sports story. So
Yeah, I think Yuri is a perfect character.
Wow.
Yeah, I feel that wholeheartedly. He's absolutely the most enjoyable part of the entire show.
What if he was on ice?
I'm sensing a theme here.
Then it'd be at number 14 now, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Wow, what a memory on this guy. 14, that's right. Yeah, that thread throughout the show is a large reason why it was so enjoyable to watch, because it wasn't just like a series of teeth gnashing punch out boxers that you just didn't care about. You know, you had like this clear end boss that, you know, had more nuanced motivation and characterization. It's not like, oh, we got to beat the rival school in our whatever the sport is, and they're all complete assholes. It's not the South Park skiing story. So, great show. Let's all be sure to megalobox to the polls.
Hey,
All right.
Matt.
We already kind of talked a lot about this, but my number 10 is Ping Pong, the animation.
Yeah, show's
Give it up.
Show's
It. I like the show a lot more after. I already kind of said this, but after like letting it sit for a bit in my mind, I when I first finished it, I wasn't super into it, even though I did love the ending. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought how great it was, and I feel like I should probably rewatch it to see if there's anything I just kind of glanced over that I didn't really notice on my first viewing. But yeah, this show is just great. It's very unique. There's really no other anime quite like it, and I don't think there will be. Just a very, very well done sports drama that really isn't about the sport so much as it is about the characters. And it's
we just love sports drama here.
We just love sports. We love sports here.
It goes so far beyond it. To me, it goes so far beyond of just being labeled as a sports anime.
Oh yeah, I mean it's much more than that. It's much more than what the title would imply. And I mean this show could be about literally anything other than ping pong, and it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a very great show, and it's rare because of the fact that so much anime is an adaptation of some sort of ongoing story. It's nice to see something that has a very distinct like ending that just is like, this is it. You're not going to see any more of this. And it's just very nice to see.
It's funny because I thought the same thing about Megalobox, and then they announced the sequel.
That's a big why.
Oof.
Just let
He
me
punched the guy so hard he's in a wheelchair now. You're not going to punch anybody harder than that.
No, we need the next story where like the kid is a boxer and now Joe is old.
Well, I mean, Deku is a thing.
Oh my god. Delete anime pussy.
Who has to go next?
That's where it's still at number
I'll
10.
go.
Who has to go?
Frank, take it off.
Here's my thing. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm a big trigger head. And
No.
There
Get
needs
out
to
of
be at
here.
least one trigger show.
Is this
where
the
something of
long-awaited
sort
appearance
on
of
my
Keys
list.
Sniper?
No, Keys Sniper is not on this list. Yeah, no beatboxing for Keys Sniper tonight.
I forgot about that.
That being said, I was pressed to include what one show on here that I thought was most emblematic of why I love this studio so much and why I'll go to bat for them as much as I do. And the one that I eventually settled on was the second Little Witch Academia OVA.
Oh my god.
The Little Witch Academia Enchanted Parade.
Parade.
And
Oh my.
the first Little Witch Academia OVA, when that first came out, it just utterly blew me away. Like, to say, this is what you can do with this medium in 22 minutes or however long that fucking OVA was. It was an absolute delight to look at, like, just full of whimsy and charm and life and color and like gorgeous character designs. And
Can I step in and say real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
My number 10 is the first Little Witch
Oh
Academia
my
OVA.
god!
So continue. Go ahead.
Now,
So
kiss.
Little Witch Academia is just so full of life and like frenetic animation and excellent pacing. And so when they announced that there was enough interest in a second one that they actually started a Kickstarter for it, I was I was blown away.
How much did you pay?
I threw in 30.
Whoa, holy
Yen?
shit.
That's not very much.
Well, how much did you want me to throw in?
More than 30 yen.
Well, no, not 30 yen. Anyway, they reached their goal in not even a day. And they they reached that goal so far that they wound up pulling out making it double length, and thus Enchanted Parade came out. And Enchanted Parade just takes everything that was so good about the first one and fleshes out the plot a little more, gives the characters a little more oomph, but still keeps everything that made it so charming while still keeping in tone with how frenetic and fluid and gorgeous that animation was. And I didn't think they would be able to follow up on it properly, but they absolutely did. And like, they managed to establish this world that I just got, it's engrossing. It's engrossing in the way that only an animated medium can have, like, a world like that. The series, I thought that slowing down the pace was not the best move.
I agree.
It didn't have the same, it was fine, but it didn't have that same.
It's a different show.
Yeah, it didn't have that same punch that the original had, and it slowed it down just a little too much. It took a little long to get to the meat, and it felt like a lot of the episodes, like, while it did have that like Saturday morning cartoon sort of charm to it, it didn't have that 1-2 crazy punch that I was used to expecting from Trigger after having seen both of the OVAs and Kill la Kill. So it's like it felt like a bit watered down from what I was expecting from a full-length Little Witch Academia TV series. But those two OVAs, they're a pinnacle of what you can do with this medium. And the vibrance that they both have are, second to none. Like it's a perfect example of like why I love this medium so much. They're outstanding. And every time I watch a Trigger show, for better or for worse, I'm reminded of like a new reason of like, not a new reason, but like I'm reminded of something that I love about anime in general. They just have a way of bringing that out, and Promare was no exception with that either. But Little Witch Academia to me was just the apex of that. So that's my number 10.
That's swell, Frank.
My number 10, like I said, was the first Little Witch Academia OV. I just liked it a little bit more than the second one, but other than that, I don't have much else to contribute.
They're both great. They're both excellent.
I mean, I would say that I did like the OVAs more than the actual series, but obviously the OVAs do have an edge in terms of the spectacle.
In that they're short and
I just think the pacing makes them a little tighter.
Yeah.
And they tell the story that they need to within the constraints that they need to pretty damn well.
Yep.
Who hasn't gone yet?
I believe I'm the last one.
All right, go for it, Steve.
So my number 10 is the ultimate fuck you. I liked it. That could possibly be on this podcast.
Here it comes.
Wait, is it Sadako?
No, it's not.
I know what it is.
Number 10 is Excel World.
Oh my god.
Yep.
Excel World, an anime that reminded me of the dangers of sharing things you like with other people.
That show wasn't that bad.
I
was.
unironically love Excel World, and it's not nearly as good as some of the other anime on my list, but I still love it all the same.
That show has a very, very great premise.
Yes, and I think that is ultimately the thing I latched onto the most. Like, it is from the writer of Sword Art Online, a guy who has way better ideas than necessarily his execution of them. But I always have enjoyed his portrayal of the future and of what technology and specifically virtual and augmented reality would look like. And the way he turned that into a story of this very, very mistreated character ended up being one I probably identified with a little more than I wanted to. And that was kind of the emotional hook for me in this show. But overall, just felt it was a very fun and enjoyable action show. It's set in the sci-fi universe with a lot of world building that I was really into. And I know that you all did not enjoy it quite the same way I did, but I will still always go to bat for this show.
I did not like the NTR in it.
I forgot about that.
I wouldn't necessarily call it that. I don't think that's what the author was going for, but
I mean, he does this a lot, though.
Well, his shows, his works tend to be more rapey than anything, honestly. Which there wasn't a lot in here. That's much more of a Sword Art Online thing, but
it did introduce us to Ash Roller.
Ash Roller is a great character, but nevertheless, this is still my thing, and I've probably rewatched Excel World more than any other anime, to be completely honest. It is just something I really enjoyed, and I will never apologize for that. So there you go.
Fine.
Are we keeping in the same order for the next ones, or are we just gonna?
Why don't we do it on the wheel? So, like, Steve went last, so then he'll go first, and then whoever goes last.
Oh god! Oh god!
Well,
someone remember the order then, because I sure as fuck don't.
All right.
So my number 9 then is Boku no Hero Academia.
Wow.
Yes,
Wow.
and it kind of surprised me too.
Give it
because
up.
I remember watching the first season and liking it, but not necessarily loving it. And I think as time went on, I sort of realized that, hey, there's a really severe lack of great shonen anime, especially Shonen Jump anime. All the big ones went away, and even some of those were never really great to begin with. But this one in particular, not only was the material good, but it had a studio behind it that was absolutely doing justice to that material and kind of elevating it to one of the most, well-animated, nicest-looking, exciting shows to watch. And they've handled it in a way that's also done the series justice by not just simply making episodes on end. They take years off. They take time off between each season, which allows them to sort of reset. And other than, the times when they've been kind of sidetracked with making these unnecessary movies, has maintained a level of quality that you just don't see for shows like this anymore. And I think I just really appreciate that.
This might be a brainlet take, but I think that Boku no Hero Academia is the natural evolution of Hero Man into a proper good show.
I'm not following you there, but
I can't quite explain myself.
So there is a parallel there because they're both very heavily Western inspired shows.
Right.
And
they're Western inspired shows with a focus on superheroism.
Yes, and Hero Man was very much in the vein of what Stan Lee does because that was very much a Stan Lee show. But yeah, I don't necessarily wouldn't call this an evolution of that, but I would say it is that done to like the nth degree of quality. And there was kind of, I feel like, an unserved market of anime drawing from Western ideals. We all like anime for the fact that it is different from Western cartoons, but there is still things it can learn from creators in the West, and I think this is one of those series that absolutely takes that and gives it a unique Japanese flair and kind of sets it apart from everything else that's kind of going on.
Much like Nintendo can learn from Rayman, so too can Japanese anime learn from Western cartoons.
Fuck Rayman, but nevertheless, and I will say this I would say this show might have dropped on my list. If it had not been for that last episode of this previous arc, which, Colin and I have some bit of a disagreement about this, but I think that episode saved that arc to me to a certain extent. Like, it is still the lowest point of the series so far, but I think it resolved that arc in a way that I felt good about it at the end. And as a result, like, despite the fact that we were now 4 seasons in, I'm still very, very happy with the overall consistent quality of the show. Like, it may drop off at some point, as most shonen shows do, but it hasn't completely done that for me yet, which is why it is so high on my list.
Yeah, I still enjoy the manga. I just feel like Deku's character is currently stuck in a bit of a rut and needs something fresher, character-wise, emotionally, to chew on. Than what he's got, which is mostly just getting physically more powerful. But I still find it enjoyable. I just feel like every time it gets away from that character, it gets more enjoyable.
Fair enough. So is Omega next then?
Yeah, my number 9 is Yuri on Ice.
Oh my gosh.
Funk talked a lot about this, so I won't go into too much detail, but it's just a really, I think, like, feel-good type of show. Made me feel warm and cozy on the inside. Great show. Not much else to say about it. But yeah, that's my number 9.
Wow, what a number 9.
Shut up. Don't do that.
All right, so me now?
Yep.
Okay, so my number 9 is Fate's Stay Night, Heaven's Feel 2 Lost Butterfly, which was my...
What a fucking title.
What a mouthful.
Which was my anime of the year last year for basically being everything that I wanted to see in a Heaven's Feel adaptation. I thought that the first Heaven's Feel movie was, the best Fate-related thing that I had ever seen. And then Heaven's Feel 2 came along, and it took everything that I, was really looking forward to seeing from the stretch of the novel that it was adapting, and did it with such grace and, poignancy, and really just elevated the source material at a level that I really wasn't expecting them to, which, I shouldn't have really been that surprised, because the first Heaven's Feel movie begins with, like, this 20-minute anime original scene that fleshes out Shiro and Sakura's relationship. That really didn't need to be there, but it's there because it gives you more of an insight into where these two characters were before they met each other, and how them being near each other has, allowed them to grow, not just as people, but as, like not just as friends, but also as people who are, like, slowly starting to fall in love with each other. And, that culminates at the end of the first Heaven's Feel movie, where you have, Shiro is, walking home in the snow without Saber, like, utterly defeated, and like he's lost everything in the Grail War, but he comes back home, and who's standing out there but Sakura waiting outside looking for him, like, with frostbitten feet. Like she was so worried about him that like she didn't even put on like proper like snow boots, that she's standing out there in the snow, like her feet like turning red, like looking in the snow for him. And like that's who he has waiting for him. Like he's lost everything, but he still has Sakura. And so to take it a step forward from that in Heaven's Feel 2, like you see just how thorny things get when Shiro's ideals are being tested now, one being forced to weigh them against Sakura and how much he cares for her, which I always thought was a really compelling change from Unlimited Blade Works. I know a lot of people are, against that development for one reason or another. They think that it's like, oh my god, like, like he's throwing away his whole entire character so he can get his dick wet or whatever. But like, it's clearly like much deeper than that. I think people just like fundamentally don't have an understanding of like how Shiro and Sakura are supposed to be together, and so like I do appreciate the steps that they've taken in this movie to like solidify that relationship. And they really went the extra mile in showing how those two are together. Like it gave them a sex scene together, which was like something that I absolutely was not expecting them to do, because they cut that out of like later versions of the visual novel. But they managed to like intertwine like both versions, like both the real Tenua version of Fate and the regular vanilla version of Fate together in a way that feels cohesive. And I was really, really happy with what they did with that. It's ufotable. So the visuals are fucking top class. The fights are fucking amazing. There's a real standout fight between like Saber and Berserker, which is just out of this world. And I'm really, really hyped for the third one. It's like my second most anticipated anime that's coming out next year after Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0. So that's Heaven's Feel 2. All right, Matt, you're up.
All right. Number 9 it's gotta be Nichijou.
Number 9, wow.
Yeah, I mean there's a lot of good shows before it. There's a lot of great shows after this. Trust me. Nichijou is great. It's not it's weird because it's a comedy show, but I wouldn't really say a whole lot of it is laugh out loud funny. It's just kind of like
it's very amusing.
A very amusing, sensible chuckle funny. There are some jokes that are genuinely like really good though. Like some that stand out are the one with them like sitting at the shrine during the rain, and then the bell that like there's something with like a bell that like causes the shrine to like fall on top of them or something.
Mm-hmm.
The principal wrestling the deer.
The way the jokes escalate in the show is generally
that too, yeah. And the one of my favorites is Yuko accidentally stabbing the wrong part of the pen.
I think
and the dog. The other one is dog. The two sequences in which an expression of pain is represented with a giant laser beam.
I thought you were referring to the dog. Oh man, the dog that whenever Yuko is distressed.
Oh, the
it
dog
runs.
that just comes. The dog that comes up and just puts its paw on her shoulder.
Yeah,
that's a great running gag.
Oh
but
man,
I'm talking about the dog that she walks up to pet and just bites her hand and she just screams.
No, I mean great running gags all around. Like I said, it just the way that it pushes every single joke absolutely to its brink.
Especially,
the reason a lot of the jokes are so funny is because of just how well animated it is. Like the joke is often the visual, and if it didn't look the way it did, And if it wasn't as smooth as it was, it wouldn't be nearly as funny.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
that's
part of that.
This show is just a joy to watch. Like the animation in this show is like some of the best animation I've ever seen in any show. It's just phenomenal. Yeah. And not only that, but like just the color palette and the use of the like all the colors are very like
colorful,
I guess you could say. It's just a very colorful show, a very unique art style.
Like a soft pastel look, honestly.
Yeah, a very I was gonna say like a soft pastel, almost like crayon drawing look to it. That just looks very nice. All the characters are great. All the running gags are great. I love
Daifuku Man.
Daifuku Man. I love the girl, and what else is there? There's like and just like all the little cute moments too. Even some of like the more heartwarming moments, like what was it at the end of the show? The
the certificate that they give Mio,
the like friendship voucher or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that was adorable. That was so cute, and it's just a very, very fantastic show all around. Like I can understand why someone wouldn't like it, because I mean, if you don't find comedy is so subjective.
Comedy is subjective, Marie.
So it's like it can be a very, very hit or miss show. But and there are a lot of jokes in it where like I had no idea what the fuck the actual joke was supposed to be. Like I still don't understand. Like I'm not entirely sure what the one joke meant with the gun in the book. Like, what did they mean by this?
To be fair, you need a very high Q to understand Michicho.
All right. I think it's Funk's number 9.
Yes. Let's see. Killed the whole discussion with a great joke. It's weird. My number 9 is Yudu Camp, which is the comfiest show of the decade, perhaps. Certainly up there.
This is the of the decade podcast.
Yeah. I am. Well, actually, no. There's number 8 is likely coming here. I'm sorry. The answer was right there, and I misspoke. But despite being number 2 in comfiness, it's a great show. It manages to do what so many cute girls doing cute things shows failed to do, which is to make the ostensible subject matter of the show actually interesting insofar as camping. Because, good Lord, I don't care about riding motorcycles or riding bikes or playing ping pong or shooting darts or whatever it is that these shows choose to fixate on. But camping with some nice vistas and some good music and some Mein Kampf fits very well with
that. Didn't even sound like the pun. That just sounded like you said the name of the fucking book. Just curling up with Mein Kampf, you know.
Well, it's comfy, so it's Mein Kampf.
Yes, I understand that.
Do you get my joke?
Yes. Continue, please.
So, having that, like having something that actually gels with the tone these shows often strive for, is a good move, but it just made it all the more successful. And the show is quite funny. Characters are nothing to write home about, but they didn't need to be. It just it worked. It just worked.
Excellent sound design as well.
Oh yeah.
Auditory bliss.
Oh yeah.
It feels like they did their homework as for like, let's go camp out here for a week and take some pictures and draw this into the show. And
the whole anime was an excuse for them to go camping.
It made you feel like you were in wherever.
That, but unironically, yeah.
But I think we all really liked Edu Camp. Yeah. We're all pretty.
What kind of monster would not like Eurocamp?
I don't know, Kenny maybe. We all just want to have, a motor scooter and drive around and go camping.
Not in the winter though. Fuck that.
You'll never go camping with a cute girl.
Just you wait, Matt. I'm gonna prove you wrong.
All right, so am I up?
Wow. Yep.
Wow, that's
Stop
sure is
doing
exciting.
Ducky.
So here's my, what is it? Is this my third number 11?
Sure.
Probably.
My third number 11. It's Madoka Magica.
Wow.
What?
And this is a show that I kind of...
Frank.
This is... Is he not here?
I'm here. I'm
here.
And I'll be talking about Madoka real soon.
Yeah, sure. This is a show I kind of went back and forth on for a while. When I originally watched it, I understood exactly what they were going for with the character of Madoka and not having her be a magical girl to the very end of it.
Right.
I wasn't quite sure if I really enjoyed her character though. And when I thought about it, when I looked back on it, I realized I was kind of looking at it the wrong way because she is not a passive character. She is a character who is actually, she is taking on a lot of the burden that the other girls are ignoring about themselves or pushing off of themselves.
Right.
And when I thought about her more, I kind of concluded this is probably one of my favorite heroines of the decade. Show's direction, absolutely gorgeous. Its score, outstanding.
Can I just comment on something quick, Colin?
Yeah.
Because it's kind of interesting you brought that up, because I had something similar, but it was more like, when I looked at it at a different direction, it was more I enjoyed it because I realized she wasn't the main character, and that Homura was the main character.
Yeah.
That made the show more interesting to me. Like, looking at it through that perspective.
Yeah. I've never seen Rebellion. And...
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I basically know what happens.
I watched it and I don't know what happens.
That being said, I did feel that the ending of the show was perfect as is.
Yes.
Yeah, well, it is.
Yeah. Sayaka as a character is someone I ended up really enjoying.
Sayaka's amazing. Sayaka's my favorite.
Sayaka and what's the other girl? Is it Kyoko? Kyoko, yeah. Their entire dynamic. Their whole little arc where they by the way, neither one, I'm so glad that they don't keep Kyoko around like as a hanger-on after the Sayaka thing is over.
Right.
Yeah, it's as long as it needs to be, and they wrap up both of them at once. And it was a perfect tragic send-off. Just a very well-oiled machine of storytelling all around. So that's my number 9.
The pacing in that show generally is quite well done.
It's pretty perfect. Yeah. It's a show. It's another one of those shows. The more I thought about it, the more I liked it. When I first walked away from it, I said that was good. I'm not sure I get the hype. And now I feel like I'm understanding the hype more and more the more I like.
I mean, I think a lot of that problem was the people were hyping up or liking it for... I hate to say liking it for the wrong reasons, but I think that's kind of what it was.
Where they just look at it as the dark magical girl show.
Yes, that's right. Why they liked it. And
it's the quote-unquote deconstruction of the magical girl.
Yeah, I don't give a goddamn shit about any of that.
It is by no means the first to do that shit. So that's what kind of rubbed people like me and DL specifically the wrong way. But I mean, I still enjoyed it in spite of those people.
Didn't Sailor Moon get pretty fucking dark?
Yes.
Yeah, Sailor Moon was the original dark magical girl show.
I mean, isn't fucking what's that show called, Frank, that you like a lot?
Which one?
Where the girl turns into a car.
Utena. Revolutionary Girl Utena.
Isn't that a magical girl show?
Yes and no. It's like more general shoujo tropes.
Okay.
It's got some magical girl because the guy that did it, Ikuhara, worked on Sailor Moon. So
okay. Well,
so it falls into like a Sailor Moon-esque rhythm, but it's not really like a Maho shoujo sort of thing.
Okay. But yeah, I mean,
Monk.
Yeah,
Wait,
it's like the
yes.
entry
Oh
level.
wait, no, it
go
is
again.
me.
No,
it's
it's
not
you
me.
again, baby.
Oh my gosh! Oh wow!
It's the wheel, brother.
Y'all
Oh,
making me
God.
blush over here. Me again? Okay. All right. So I think this is my final number 11.
I was looking forward to Colin's top 2011s.
Stop it! Mega, stop it!
By the way, this is number 8 for anyone keeping score at home.
Right.
Yeah. So this one is Mushishi Zokusho.
I can't wait to watch more Mushishi.
Oh, it's a freaking great show, and I really don't think there's anything like it. When I first watched the show, it didn't quite click with me. I think I could understand that it was good, but it wasn't really until I really understood that Ginkgo is not really the main character of Mushishi. It's really, you only have main character. You have a main character of the episode, and Ginkgo is the supporting character. Ginkgo's only the main character in maybe like 2 or 3 episodes.
In that sense, it's a little different from something like Mononoke, where it's like you have the medicine seller who's going around and like he, like while he is solving problems, he's also like involved in some way. So it's like a bit different than that.
It's never about how is
those
Ginkgo
two shows are linked, aren't they?
No, they're not.
No, that's
Wait, what?
thinking of.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
I haven't seen Mushishi.
Yeah, it's never about how Ginkgo is going to solve the problem. That's never what Mushishi is about. It's always about how are people dealing with the problem.
Yeah.
It's ordinary people dealing with extraordinary circumstances. For something that deals with the fantastical, I think Mushishi might be the most grounded show in my entire list, just in terms of how people behave. It's definitely a show. Don't say it really makes you think, but it is a show for reflection.
Well, it's more of a show for introspection. From what
yes, it is. Yeah, introspection. Yeah. And each episode basically it tackles sort of a different topic, and even if it's tackling a similar one, it is tackling it at least from a different perspective. Like in terms of loss, you'll have maybe an episode about an older, like a parent, or an episode about a kid. I think there are probably 15 episodes. I would hate to be a young couple in the Mushishi universe because something is going to befall you in that one. And just seeing how people deal with just being part of this world where they are so small in comparison to what they live beside, that's going to be around for so much longer than they are.
Mm-hmm.
And their existence, which is just a total flash in the pan, is just minuscule in comparison to these mushi that they live alongside. And each one having kind of its own little unique gimmick is also pretty interesting as well. Mushishi, excellent, wonderful score, looks beautiful, very always unique, totally interesting, sometimes mysterious. And that's actually every single one of those words actually does describe Mushishi.
Oh my god.
If I were to recommend a single episode from the show for you guys to watch, I would recommend season 2, that's to say Zokusho, episode 12. if you only watch one single episode, you're like, I'm not really sure if I can get into this, just because it's too that like maybe there's not enough plot, or maybe it's just too like each individual episode might just be too slow. Just watch that episode. I think that episode is freaking awesome. Go watch season 2, episode 12, please. Funk,
I'm here.
Okay, he's gonna do it.
I'll get to it when I get there, but I'm watching season 1 right now, and I'm really enjoying it.
How long is this show? How many episodes?
This show, astoundingly, the manga got fully adapted over the course of 9 years. So the first season is 26 episodes, and I think the second season is 20 episodes. There are 2 OVAs and 1 movie. So the second season came 7 years later, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, Jay, would you recommend Ayakashi?
No, I wouldn't, actually. I would not recommend Ayakashi. I would only recommend the last 3 episodes of Ayakashi that deal with the ghost cat, which is what gives you the spin-off to Mononoke. The other episodes of Ayakashi are very tepid, I would describe them as. Yeah, they're tepid. They're just not that good. But Mononoke, that show is freaking lit. But it was not from this decade, so it's not on my list.
Mononoke is pretty lit. I like that show a lot.
Well,
Yeah, we watched it together.
take it away, you absolute shit heap, with your number 8.
All right, my number 8 is the actual comfiest show on my list, which is Tanaka-kun by Itsumo Kiraruge.
Wow, yeah, I love that show.
Yeah. It's hard to talk about this in a unique and vibrant way coming off of Yuru Camp when a lot of their strengths are very similar just in the tone that they set and manage to hold and how comfortable it is. Tanaka-kun had much better characters, though, and a lot of the enjoyable moments of the show come from just watching them. They're all very cute, they're all lovable, but most importantly, they're all very calming. And good Lord, do I love them. Show is also very funny. Its comedic timing and pacing was another one of its greater strengths.
I would say that it has much more of a comedic edge to it than Yuru Camp.
Oh, that's definitely true.
Yeah.
So as far as the type of humor that they have.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm not trying to like compare the two shows. I just don't want to go on about how comfy something is 2 times in a row, you know. But they are very different shows.
Had one of the best eye catches with the Miyano bullet.
Oh yeah. I mean, her whole character was just designed for just 2-second little bits of cuteness. I love the gif of her banging the desk. It's just great.
Tanaka-kun is one of those shows where every time you think you found the best girl, another one comes up that just makes you reconsider.
There are many best girl candidates.
They all have their moment to shine.
But we all agree that there is no competition for best boy, and Tanaka-kun is in fact worthless trash.
That is true.
Jesus.
That is true. He even calls himself that too.
Yeah, no, he's just terrible. He should just die.
Why do we got to do this to each other?
I just want to see somebody someone just write a transcript of that. He should just die. Matt laughs.
Is anyone going to stop him?
Huh?
Omega, you just did the fake laugh again.
No, that was a real laugh.
Yeah?
I'm too tired to put actual effort into it, so it sounds fake. That was genuine.
Nice. But yeah, Tanaka-kun was an absolute joy to watch, and I hope more shows of that caliber are released. Also, it's very soft. It's a very soft show.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, pastels again! Wow.
Color theory.
How dare you? All right, Matt, take it away.
Who's my number 21? It barely missed it.
What a fucking asshole.
Number 8 for me is Made in Abyss.
Wow.
Am I the only one that doesn't have this on my list?
I don't have it on my list.
It's
a really good show, but I don't have it on my list.
This show is great. A great example of a show that like this is like I feel like the edgy show to end all edgy shows for me at least, because like I feel like I can't really watch any more of this like edgelord shit.
But it's like it doesn't come across as edgy though.
No, it doesn't, which is what's important. The edginess is
part of the oppressive atmosphere.
It has a point to it.
Yeah, it has a point to it. The oppressiveness of the show, it's all like what do you call it? Like there's like a pinpoint of it where there's really only like a couple major moments that are like, whoa, holy shit.
It's like, how do you understand like the depth of the danger unless the little kid, bleeds from their fucking eyes?
Yeah.
Or
like that episode was
turns into a retarded slug monster and begs to die.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Like there are like the fact that like it's all built up to this like climatic point in the story is what makes it so important, and why all these like fucking shows where it's just constant suffering and bullshit, it just does it all wrong. It just gets annoying. Like you gotta like kind of build up to it and then really throw a fucking like wham episode at them that just like takes you aback. And I don't think I've ever watched watched an episode of a show that went nearly as fast as episode 10 did, where she fucking bleeds from the eyes, and the final episode, which is a double length episode that did not feel even close to double length.
Yeah.
Like, man, did this show have amazing pacing. It's just a very great adventure show, a true adventure show with big risks and like just a very awesome premise. And I really can't wait for the movie to get subs so that I can see the Bondrude's wild ride and his what's the quote? Sound of scientific triumph or something is the
onomatopoeia.
Oh yeah.
The onomatopoeia they use in the manga. Also lolly spilling noises.
Oh god.
But yeah, this show is something else, and like I said, I just can't wait to see the movie and the eventual season 2 that's apparently going to be coming out. So yeah, it's just great show, even if it is a little weird sometimes.
All right.
What makes you say that?
Who next? Is it?
I wonder, like, whenever I think about this show, I wonder how many people got filtered by the one, like, 2-second moment where you see Rico strung naked from the rope.
A lot of people got filtered.
And I was like, it just kind of makes me wonder, like, how many people saw that and were just like, what the fuck is this?
Can I go off for a second here about it's something I hate about Made in Abyss's existence.
What?
Okay.
So I absolutely cannot stand people, and I've seen this so much, which is why I bring it up. I absolutely cannot stand people who are like, oh, you got to watch Made in Abyss. It's so good, and quote, it's not like the other animes. in reference to it, like not having whatever stupid bullshit and tropes that anime usually does, when it really just has its own stupid bullshit going on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it does.
And people love saying that. They're like, oh, it's not like the other anime, and like why it just betrays this whole insecurity people have about like watching anime. I don't want to watch that. It's too weird. It's too anime. Just you're watching anime. Like what sense of yourself are you trying to protect here? That you have to just be like, nope, everything about animes sucks. I need something so different.
You're kind of getting into now like the whole birth of ironic weebery.
Yeah.
Basically. Where you're like, oh, I'm watching this show, but I'm only watching it ironically. I know it's trash, but you know.
Yeah.
But
maybe on the scope of this podcast.
There is other than that, there's also the part where Rico talks about sticking. What was it? Like she stuck something into Reg's like rectum.
Yeah.
That broke off inside.
Like that happened, yeah.
Something
the
like
Gary
that.
Glitter Award, everybody.
Hey. Made in abyss. Hey. We're all made in abyss.
Requesting an image of Bondrew dancing down the stairs.
Who's next? Omega?
Me.
Omega.
No, it's Frank.
Yeah.
Oh.
It is Frank, the robot.
Thanks for skipping me. Anyway, my number 8 is Madoka Magica Rebellion.
Oh my god.
Which
is it the film?
Yeah, it's the sequel film. It's a work of art. What?
Nothing.
Shut the fuck up. I'm gonna explain to you. The only reason why Steve is shitting on it is because he doesn't fucking get it. So let me lay it out to you.
No, he's actually not wrong.
Oh.
But I probably wouldn't like it anyways.
Let me lay it out to you in terms that anyone can understand. Rebellion is a masterclass in visual storytelling, and the symbolism, the visual imagery that they spew throughout this movie is absolutely superb. I don't think I've seen a film that executes like what this film does with its atmosphere and its tone and how it builds tension through its setting. I don't think I've ever seen an anime film do that before. It's out of this world. Inukuri's like backgrounds for his labyrinths and whatnot. That's obviously a major part of the Madoka franchise. And it's taken to spectacular heights in this movie as we get into and I don't want to get too far into spoilers because I know that not everyone here has seen it, but the setting is essentially Homura's labyrinth, and the way that that's slowly teased out throughout the movie, as you continue to get this feeling that like things are like very off in this setting. At times it's reveals perfectly, like right after you get this, this big first witch battle with all 5 of them together, and you're like, wait a second, like what's going on? Like how is everyone here? This, that, the other. Like the only one that has a sense that something is off is Homura, and it does a great sense of putting you in Homura's shoes, as she on the one hand is like, I'm really happy here, and like everything is okay here, but I can't shake the feeling that something is wrong, which is very similar to what Evangelion 3.0 is trying to do, like being thrust into this unfamiliar territory and putting you and your protagonist in equal levels of confusion as they try to explore new surroundings. But the way that the setting shifts as Homura gets new information about where exactly she is, and the way that they, frame her relationship with Madoka as the movie progresses is spectacular. There's just so much artistry that's put into the design of these characters, especially like in their witch forms, because at the end of the movie, Homura becomes a witch, and her witch form is just the perfect encapsulation of like everything that has been going on in this, in this labyrinth, and it's hot. It's fucking amazing. And I know that there's a lot of controversy regarding the the scene that happens after they beat Homura's witch form, when Homura takes a bit of Madoka's power for herself, essentially. And I think that people don't really get Homura's character, or what she's exactly trying to do in that scene. So I would definitely suggest, like, if you don't get it, rewatch the movie with a more critical eye. Think about her conversation that she's having with Madoka in that scene where she braids her hair, which is a Kino scene. Think about the conversation that she's having with Sayaka, like, in the epilogue. And think about what the tomatoes that her fucking familiars are throwing at her means. Like, think about what that symbolizes. She's obviously, like, putting on a performance here, and not a very good one at that. And it's radiant.
You get it now, Steve, you dumb idiot.
So coming from my perspective of having not seen the film and only
go ahead.
The show and knowing what I do about the film.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't find Homura's decision at the end that shocking.
Yeah, it certainly isn't in the context of the conversation that they have when she's braiding her hair in that scene in the movie. Because he essentially asks Madoka, like, this is, like say you had to make this decision, would you do it? And the Madoka she's talking to says no, like absolutely not. And so, like, that's pretty much that in Homura's eyes, that's pretty much like her, like, her motivation for doing what she does.
Yeah, because my impression of the show was that Homura would not have been satisfied with the ending of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like she certainly would, you do get that sense from the ending of the TV series anyway, but, like, that conversation just, like, really solidifies what she does. And you have Sayaka there, and Sayaka is like, oh my god, like, like, I don't remember anything, but I remember that I'll remember that, like, you're a devil, Homura, or whatever she says. And it's like, like, of course Sayaka is gonna think that. Like, Sayaka is a fucking, like, cop, basically. Like, she has this very black and white view of the world where, like, like, I'm on the side of justice, and anyone that's not on the side of justice is evil, and, like, that's always been her shtick. Like, so putting her in that position is, like, if they were really going to continue it from there, then that's going to be the ideal character to sort of push that narrative forward. I don't think there is going to be a sequel, and if there is, Gen Ibushi isn't going to be involved, so I'm kind of hesitant as to, like, whether or not I would even, like, get that. Like, when they put out this, like, concept movie that has some fucking weird ideas going on in there, and then they never fucking followed up on that. But Rebellion is a really good capstone. Is it better than the original ending? Like, I find that, like, hard to say, because I think they're both trying to accomplish very different things. I will say that, like, Urobuchi was kind of pushed into leaving it on sequel bait, which is part of the reason why he did what he did. But, like, the end result is just this incredibly evocative piece, especially in the post-credit scene, which, like, the first time I saw it, it made my fucking stomach drop. Like, it's very chilling, and, like, the sound direction there is awesome, and, like, I do think it's something that, like, even if, like, you feel like you're perfectly satisfied with where the original series ended off, like, it's worth watching just because it's a gorgeous fucking film, from start to finish. And I think it does a lot. I think that pacing wise and plot wise, it does some really interesting things. Like, I was a big fan of it coming out of it, and I know that, like, it's
what about David Wise? Would you say that he did things, interesting things?
Yeah, when he did things for Donkey Kong Country, yeah, I particularly like Sticker Brush Symphony.
Yeah. Boop, 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 boop.
Well, we got our David Wise reference in.
All right, Omega.
Can I just say it's less of an issue that I didn't understand the movie, and more that I don't even remember why I disliked the movie, because I watched it and I think it was one of those things where I just immediately deleted it from my brain because I'm not gonna say it was bad. I just wasn't that into it.
It's a good
movie.
movie.
Maybe I would like it more if I watched it again. But I remember there being something that rubbed me the wrong way, and I just can't remember what it is. And then
it was probably the ending.
Forgot about it.
It was probably the ending because that's what rubs everyone the wrong way.
I don't think it was because like I didn't have enough emotional investment in the series and those characters to really be offended by it.
No, well, I mean, a lot of people are like, "Oh my god, like Homer would never do something like that." Like,
I mean, Homer did nothing, right?
Yes, Homer did nothing. Exactly.
Yeah. All right, my turn.
Excuse me.
Oh my god. Okay.
My number 8. Okay.
Number 8. It's 1:43 in the morning.
Oh, so there's been this decade had a lot of different iterations of Mobile Suit Gundam. A lot of different series, but my favorite was Mobile Suit Gundam Thunderbolt. It's just a 4-episode little series. It was the best of what I've seen. It's great. I don't certainly no one here has watched it.
I've seen Gundam Thunderbolt.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, I have.
Oh my god, I loved it.
So I thought the jazz angle that they were trying to push was particularly interesting.
Yeah, it's like the one character loves jazz, another character loves like country and some other music. But it's a really, I think, interesting take on the series. It was very well done overall, and I really liked it. That's my number 8.
I thought it was like action wise, it was pretty well done. I think it could have done to be a little more subtle. You know,
Gundam is not subtle.
Yeah, I know. I'm generally looking for
Frank, war is bad.
Yeah, that's literally Gundam. I know. And Thunderbolt particularly goes to great lengths to be like, hey, did you know that war is really fucked up?
Yeah.
But when you have the one character and he's like, oh my god, like I love jazz, it's so free, like me. It's like, all right, man, like we get it. I do think that it makes for a particularly like interesting like backdrops to fights. I thought it was fun. But in terms of like storytelling, it wasn't like anything like crazy. But it was certainly like an enjoyable.
Nothing watch. like groundbreaking for Gundam, for sure. But
Gundam.
But I liked it a lot.
It was no like War in the Pocket or like 8th MS Team or whatever. But like
no.
In terms of like recent stuff, I feel like it was probably like a step above the rest.
Yep. All right. Steve.
All right. Now it's Steve's turn.
Now it's my turn. So number 8 on my list is a show that's been a lot of things have already been said about it, and a lot of things probably will be said about it before we're done. So I don't really have much to add on it. It's Mob Psycho 100, both seasons basically.
Woo!
It is a genuinely fantastic show, and the thing I guess I wanted to say most about it was I kind of went in the show wanting to be impressed because I really enjoyed One Punch Man, and I was like, okay, it's gonna be a really tall order for this to be better than that, and definitely by the end of the second season, that does bear its fruit, and it is absolutely like his best work. Obviously, the character work is phenomenal. The writing is phenomenal. No one needs to say anything else about how fucking amazingly animated this shit is. Like it's probably more than it deserves, but it is very much nice to see something like this get this kind of treatment, or glow up, as the kids say these days. So yeah, it's just like a fucking amazing show from start to finish. One that only just keeps getting better. And hopefully, Colin would know, and I don't want him necessarily to say, but I really hope when if they inevitably do another season, that it just keeps going on this upward trend. And finishes strong.
Oh, it's still great. It's still great.
Yeah,
great.
I've also read it. It's good.
Great. All right, are we on to number 7 then?
Yep, you're up.
All right, number 7 is a show that none of you can say shit because none of you watch this show.
Huh?
Number 7 is Space Brothers.
That sounds
and
like
if you even know what this show is.
That sounds like a fucking made up show you just made up right now.
No,
it's Space Brothers.
That's the internal streaming show.
Hey, what are you eating?
I'm brushing my teeth.
Holy shit.
Colin does know about it. It's Space Brothers. This is a 99 episode show, so that's your barrier of entry if you ever want to get into this. But I 100% recommend you fucking do it because it is an amazing show. It is a type of show that I would highly recommend to people of this day and age because it is a very hopeful and optimistic show about humanity. Something I feel is greatly lacking these days. And this is an older show. This is like from the beginning of the fucking decade. But it's basically about these two brothers and their journey in going to space. And yeah, like that is by far my biggest takeaway is just how inspiring and emotional it can be at times. Even someone like me who can be a jaded asshole, this show will reach you in that kind of way. Since this is kind of called back to an earlier conversation we had, it also has probably one of the best depictions of PTSD ever seen in fiction.
Better than Gate?
Yes. by leagues better. And it also has one of the hardest things I've ever had to watch in any show ever. Not from like a gruesome angle, but of just like this character is suffering in a way that is legitimately hard to watch. And it is one of those things I will probably remember for the rest of my life because it is that difficult to sit through. But it serves the show in such a great way. And it's certainly not the only thing I remember from that show, but that is the moment I definitely recall the most. And I don't want to spoil it in case any of you ever embark on the journey of watching this show someday.
Yes, I was going to ask because I just came back from brushing my teeth. I'm sorry. If you've already mentioned that this is a fairly lengthy show by comparison to basically everything else that we've put on the list thus far.
It is 99 episodes, and that is no filler other than 3 recap episodes in the middle of the show. It's all just the source material. And even then, the show doesn't have a definitive ending because the manga is still ongoing. But they just decided to stop doing it instead of just, making up an anime original ending, which I very much respect. But even with that in mind, it is still worth watching. So yes, watch Space Brothers.
Okay.
All right.
I up?
You're up, Omegs.
Guys, I'm combining 7 and 6. I'm doing it both at the same fucking time.
You can't do that.
Yes, I can.
You can do that.
So, guys, let's go to dictionary.com.
Okay.
Okay. Camp. Adjective. Deliberately exaggerated and theatrical in style, typically for humorous effect. Guys, my number 7 is Samurai Flamenco. My number 6 is Terraformers.
Oh no.
Listen up.
Oh baby.
I fucking love these two shows. They're so wildly over the top. They're so insane. I went to these shows blind. I knew nothing about them, and they just blew me away episode by episode. I love them so dearly. They're so entertaining. They're so just in poor taste at times. I think there's a scene in Terraformers where a giant cockroach man takes someone's skull and uses it as with the spinal cord to like whip somebody else. It's so fucking insane. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you guys have seen these shows. You know what they're about.
Unfortunately, I thought that was the peak of the whole series, which is the
of
problem.
Terraformers.
That was one of my biggest problems. Is that I feel like that was the peak, and it didn't really get much better than that. I feel like it didn't get much. I don't think there's a moment that was as entertaining as ripping out someone's spine and using it as a weapon.
Terraformers also includes the a cliche which I love, in which characters have big dramatic flashbacks in the middle of fight scenes.
Are we talking about Adolf here?
Yes.
The 6-episode Adolf arc.
Yes, the Electric Eel Man. I just love these two shows. They were so similar in tone and style. Shout out to my boy Guillotine Gorilla. Yeah, so I kind of put those two shows together.
But just to be clear, Terraformers was number 6.
Yes.
Flamenco was number 7. All right.
Yes.
Having watched both of those shows, I get where you're coming from, but I also have extremely different opinions between them. Where I really enjoy Samurai Flamenco because of that, and I really did not like Terraform Mars because of that.
Wow.
Welcome to the bad round, my friends. You can check out, but you can never leave.
Who's next?
Me.
Okay.
Yeah. So my number 7 is Sangatsu no Lion season 2.
Yeah, boy.
Phenomenal show. And that's not to say that season 1 isn't, incredible, because season 1 is quite good, but the second that season 2 kicks off with that Hina bullying arc, and you get that phenomenal scene with Hina crying in front of the river at night, about oh my god, talk about phenomenal voice acting. Kana Hanazawa knocks it out of the park as Hina in that role, and
this show may have the most accurate and well done portrayal of bullying you'll ever see in an anime.
It's crazy good. And it doesn't stop. That arc is great. It isn't just woe is Hina, feel bad for Hina. Hina's bullying has a profound effect on the rest of the family, not even just Rei, the whole family is affected by the fact that Hina is going through it.
It really shows how it does a really great job of showing how much something as simple as bullying can just affect not just one person but a large variety of people,
right?
And even indirectly, and just and just also and Hina isn't even a weak character.
No, not even a little bit.
She bites back pretty hard.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just think it's so touching, when she goes off on Rei in that scene, and she's like, I know what I did wasn't wrong. I don't regret it for a second, and I know that if I don't do this, I'm gonna regret it for the rest of my life. And then her grandpa comes out, and her grandpa's like, Hina, that takes balls. There are adults who are in that situation who wouldn't do what you're doing right now. And the person that it's affecting the most is Rei, especially in light of the shit that's going on with Nikaido right after that, where he's stuck in this match, and his opponent knows that he's fucking ill, and is intentionally stalling to the point where he knows that he's gonna make Nikaido collapse from exhaustion in the middle of the match, and that's how he's gonna win. And obviously the righteous indignation that Rei feels in that scene as a result of everything bubbling over. I can't imagine people calling Rei a bland protagonist, because despite the fact that he does seem like a fairly quiet person on the surface, he does have a lot of what's the word to put it, because he's not really it's not anger, but he does have a lot of resentment bubbling out onto the surface. Yeah, and Hina, he sees Hina as he says Hina's his savior after that, because Hina is the one that's because I think
his whole thing is that after that family befriends him and helps him out, he and then he sees Hina in the state she's in, it kind of gives him more of a purpose in his life, other than just playing what's the game again? Shogi. He sees Hina, he sees Hina in this place, and he's oh, I this person needs me, so now I have a reason to actually be here.
Right
on this planet.
Yeah, and he goes to visit her on her school trip and everything like that, and he knows where she is. I think those two have a wonderful dynamic together. When he takes her out for dessert afterwards, and there's just no shortage of just touching scenes in that show. And it isn't even the Hina bullying arc is the highlight of season 2. It's just that that's just the kicker. The burning field arc that comes after that is fucking incredible.
Everything that has to do with that one weird guy that that's like the big champion.
Yeah.
Everything that has to do with him and like the comparisons between him and Ray and everything. That whole part of the show where Ray is essentially like babysitting him was very, very interesting.
I think that for a Shaft show, which normally has like a very like a minimalistic sort of style to it, they really went above and beyond in like illustrating like the way that the characters personality reflects through the way that they move. Not even just like in shogi, because like you honestly don't even need to know like a lick of shogi to like sort of get what's going on like for the general atmosphere of the matches. I like originally I thought I was going to be a little more lost than I actually was, like, because I'm definitely not a fucking shogi buff, but it's definitely more important like thematically than it is like to actually like follow the matches. So big boon for that. And it ends really well. Like it obviously there's a lot more manga to adapt with it, but the point where it ended is really, really good. And definitely one of Shaft's best work that they've put out this decade. I have one other Shaft show that's up a little higher than it, but Sangatsu is a highlight, and it's just it goes to show what that studio can do if they really put their mind to a project.
Oh, yeah.
It's quite good. All right, who's up? Matt, right?
Am I next?
Yeah.
Okay, we're on 7.
Yeah.
Number 7 is both seasons of Rakugo.
Yeah.
Yeah, this show is great. Just a fantastic drama all around. Very fantastic story. Great characters. It's the way that they actually managed to really perform Rakugo and everything is awesome. Like, Rakugo is something that I didn't even know existed, and now it's actually like something that actually seems like a really cool part of Japanese history. There's just a lot of great moments in the show. I'm not a huge fan of the weird like romance drama that's in there, which comes off as a little soap opera-y at times.
Do you mean in like the first half of the show?
Mainly the first half, yeah. Mainly the first half. The second half I think is a lot better than the first half. But the second core, I guess I should say. Like the first core with some of the romance stuff, I feel got a little cheesy at times, but it didn't really bother me too much overall. Just the way it goes through history, you grow up with these characters. You see all the changes that happen, you see just like how much things change over time. You go from like a very historical part of history to the very end where you see characters with fucking smartphones. It is a real journey of a show, and just a phenomenal finale as well that just has a fantastic last little part to it. Just phenomenal show all around.
It's another good example of a story that's very complete.
Right.
Like there's really nowhere else to go that you'd want to go, that you'd want to know about. It's just finished.
It's a very satisfying show. Like, I loved it, but it's like, just let it rest. This is where it should stay. This is like the perfect ending for it. Just phenomenal. Like one of the few shows that you could unironically call Kino. Just great.
Pure Anakino.
Okay.
Spunk.
Who's up?
It's Spunk.
It's me. It was always me. Number 7. TVK Euphonium.
Nice.
The show where they move desks.
The desk show.
It's, I mean, there's not really a lot that needs to be said about the show. It's just so obviously great. The studio's great. KyoAni, they were so great that they flew too close to the sun and caught fire.
Oh, no.
God.
Fuck you. Literally, fuck you.
So perhaps they were a victim of their own success in a way.
Literally, fuck you.
All I'm saying is that it was likely their own fault.
Wait, what happened? I wasn't paying attention. What was he saying?
33 people died.
Oh.
Wait, so
He was making fun of the studio. Okay, got it.
I think it's
maybe they hired like an incompetent intern like in Jirobako, and he just like
Do I have to edit
burned a
this
cheesy
fucking
pita.
No,
podcast?
it's-
I
it's gonna
really
listen
don't
this
wanna
far
edit
into this
this out.
podcast? You insane?
He's the one who actually lives in Japan. He's the.
So the
Okay.
KyoAni fans, they can burn my house down.
Are you gonna talk about Euphonium? Or you?
I am talking about Euphonium.
Wow, this is
Maybe
the
if they-
mysterious part in the
Wait.
podcast where Funk doesn't give us number fucking 7 award.
Maybe if they didn't move those desks near like the fire exits, maybe they would.
Got his mic.
Okay, so Euphonium was really good. It was really excellent. The animation was top notch. The voice acting was great. The way they incorporated the music into the show, like I remember one of the first things we talked about back on like the mid season of when the show first aired was like how they kind of toned down the skill of the performers to better fit the story needs, and there was just a lot of attention to detail throughout the entirety of the show.
I remember you mentioning how like in the very first episode, like the band performs and they play like, and it sounds like shit, and it's like, is this supposed to sound like shit? And then Kumiko literally says like, wow, this sounds like shit.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, that's when you know they know what they're doing.
Well, yeah, I mean, like it's kind of hard to tell a musician to be like, all right, so you need to play this song, but you need to play it like kind of off. Like
It's difficult to intentionally do something
poorly.
bad.
To
Yeah.
play bad convincingly in that you are actually trying to be good.
right.
Right. Because it's not like everybody's just completely off time and hitting the wrong notes or playing in the wrong key or something really
It's
obvious like that.
It's ever so slightly bad that it's not like 100% obvious. You may not have noticed it, but your brain did.
Right. And it's less so about that specifically, but it's emblematic of just the approach they took with that show and how much detail goes into it. And
It's weird to think that this was based off of a novel.
Yes. Yes, I think so. Because a lot of its strength comes in its direction and its visuals. Not that its story isn't good, but a lot of what I like about it is so you wouldn't get it from the novel. So they really just did the extra work in adapting this. So good for them. Good for them. No, I'm not even gonna say it. Might get.
Let's just do a quick RIP and move on to Colin.
Hell yeah. Okay. So number 7 for me is Nichijou. And since this is going to pop up on Funk's list later, I feel like, and we've already talked about it a little bit, I'm going to just move past it and go right to my sort of number 6, one of my 3 number 6s.
Oh,
Come on.
Look, sometimes you just need to acknowledge that you don't really feel like you can rank some things, all right?
666.
Yeah. So
Clay finishes an anime and doesn't score it, man.
So because this one has also already been mentioned, I feel like I'm just gonna throw this one as the first one I mention. Prison School.
Give it up.
Freaking love Prison School. This is actually a work of genius, and I know that apparently the manga goes downhill. I don't really care.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I don't really care about that because the idea that the guy had for this was absolutely incredible.
Genius.
This is how you do narrative-driven comedy. God, the the man being the principal being a butt man, the the golden shower, the Gakuto figurines, the sadomasochism. None of these are just jokes. It's just excellent gag after excellent gag that actually either pushes the plot forward or pays off in the plot later.
They're set pieces.
Yeah, and it's
the economy of comedy, as I believe you put
yes,
it.
that's how I described it originally. The economy of comedy, and what an economy it is, because it's not just funny. This show can have you laughing and also completely clenched at the same time. Yeah. There are legitimately tense scenes in this show. It's a freaking thriller. You know,
it's a real like cat and mouse.
Yeah, it's Shawshank, baby. Like, you don't know if they're actually gonna make it out of this one.
I still love that. What I expected, what I got for Prison School, where it shows what I watched is Prison School. What I expected was Shawshank Redemption. Like, it's just the picture.
Yes.
And then what I got is the version of the picture, only it's yellow.
I mean, if you want to watch like a prison anime and you're like, oh well, Rainbow, that looks very mature. It even has a warning at the beginning of each episode. No, fuck Rainbow. Fuck.
What was
Rainbow.
that bad prison comedy that was on a couple years ago?
Oh,
Ricky O, the story of Ricky.
Wait, no, I do remember.
Oh,
this.
non-baka.
Yes.
Yeah,
it was so bad.
That show fucking sucked.
No, you want a show that has it all? It's fucking Prison School. This show is it's basically perfect.
It's just intrigue at every turn. It's oddly tense, and it's full of betrayals and triumphs. Love it.
Oh, even like even like dumb gags like what's the guy's name? Ringo Starr. The guy whose name I think his name starts with an R.
Joe?
No, the blonde one.
Shinjo.
Oh, okay. He keeps walking in on Gakuto and Kiyoshi in like homoerotic situations, and this serves to push him away from them, which pays off.
It's one of those shows where like if every joke you describe out of context doesn't sound funny, but the way it's done in the show is absolutely hilarious. Like, it sounds like the most like juvenile humor ever, but it just totally works.
It's a dangerous recommendation to be sure.
Oh god, like another show with some of the best reaction images you will ever see.
Yes.
Yep.
It's her fucking nipple.
Oh god.
Take it away.
And it's to cap off Prison School. It has possibly the best climax of any show of all time when it comes down to a philosophical debate that knocks your socks off. Anyway, this is 6. Yes. So my number 6 is a show that's not on anybody else's list. Or actually, it was on Omega's by default, I think. No, maybe it was on. That was a different one. Yes. Okay, it was not on Omega's list. I have The Rolling Girls, as number 6, best anime of the last decade. And what a fantastic show! It's just a marriage of so many great things. Great sense of aesthetics, although the animation itself is a little wanting. Great use of music, both just as the score and also integrated into like these fantastic action scenes that cap off their little arcs. Love the colors in it, but it just fully like captures the punk rock aesthetic that the music kind of sets it up for. And you got your Blue Hearts going, you got the OP chugging along. The show's greatest flaw is the expectations it sets up with the very first episode, which kind of it sets a high that it's difficult for it to live up to. But I think all of the show's set piece moments are good in their own way. And I just have a very soft spot for this show, a very strong affinity for it. I think it's wonderful. And I could watch it any number of times. It'll never get old for me. I was very happy to show it to you guys. I was very happy that nobody really liked it very much.
I liked it.
Yeah, you like this is fine.
Yeah. It certainly, once it had to have a plot, it fell off a little bit in enjoyment.
Yeah, it tries to set up this world of like these different disparate zones, and like the girls are traveling between them, and all the zones have like their own thing going on. It's their own culture, and it's interesting to look at, but it doesn't really serve the story in any way, and there really isn't much of a story. And it never, when they try to make it coalesce, it just kind of falls on its face.
Number 6, everybody.
No, I get it. I get it. But I would have said, when I talked about my approach for making this list, I'm not just going by objective quality. Yeah, it's the way that this show resonated with me is the 6th most meaningful of the past 10 years. So I am very happy to put it this high on my list. And it's not perfect, but it doesn't have to be. That's that.
All right.
Now it's Matt.
It is me. Okay. My number 6 is Kimetsu no Yaiba. Probably
Give it up.
the only, I guess, actual shonen on the list. Well, other than actual, I guess, non-sports shonen on the list. But yeah, I love this. I really love this show. It's great. I mean, we've already, I think, sung its praises more than enough on, like, very recently on the podcast. But yeah, it's just a fantastic action show. Great characters. Great interactions between the main three. Can't wait to see more of it. One of the most phenomenal single episodes of an anime I've ever seen, with episode 19. Just just brimming with creativity in its action scenes.
Best use of "Oh My" flashback I've ever seen.
Oh yeah.
Oh my dancing dad.
Yes.
But yeah, just a fantastic show. And by the way, that doesn't count because he didn't fucking win. He lost that fight. You dumb shit posters. He lost.
What is he talking about?
The end of the spider arc where he remembers his dad's like whatever dance that like allows him
like the fire dancing.
Dancing.
The dance of the fire god.
Yeah. And that allows him to figure out how to beat the spider guy. But then, I mean, in the next episode, it's revealed that the spider guy just cut off his own head so that he couldn't do it. And
you didn't win.
You didn't.
Basically, they're able to have him pull out a power up in such a way that it allows him to live but not win the fight.
It's smart. It's well written.
It's well written, and it's done in a way that makes the villains it makes the villains also feel smart too, so you know what kind of shit they have to deal with next.
I think one of the most praiseworthy things about the show is the story in general is the power scaling between the villains and the heroes.
Oh yeah, like every single fight is a fight to the death, and it never feels like it never feels like there's a fight that like it only escalates. There's no like down period at all.
No, there is like even the mooks are extremely dangerous. That's what it feels like.
Right. Even just the most random of like guys are like one of the first like the demons they fight are still pretty fucking powerful.
Yeah.
So but yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right.
Who is
Okay.
it? It's
All
Frank.
right, so in the same vein as Matt, my number 6 is also a shonen.
Oh, I know this.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's Hunter x Hunter.
Yeah.
Oh no.
And
Strap in.
and Hunter x Hunter is amazing.
I can tag in for this one, I guess.
What's up?
I said I can tag in for this one.
Oh my god, Colin, do you want to go off?
No.
Chimera
I mean,
Ant?
you go off. I'm just saying that if you
Oh
want to
my
bounce
God,
off anybody.
the Chimera Ant arc is, despite what some people will tell you, the pacing in that arc is absurdly good. It's just a non-stop thrill ride from the second that they meet Kite and get into NGL. And the setting of NGL is, even without the Chimera Ants coming in, the NGL is basically just like a powder keg ready to burst at any moment. Like, there's, cartels going around, and the setting is just like perfectly poised to, have everything go belly up once the ants start coming in. And it's just so well written. It really just makes you care about every single side character that gets introduced in that time period, from Knuckle and Shoot to Moral, and even like Melioron and like and Ikalgo, who if you had told me that I would give a shit about this fucking octopus not being able to kill a guy, I would be like, you're fucking crazy. But Togashi does it with such fucking poise when fucking Ikalgo is so ready to kill fucking Bravado and he can't take the shot, and he runs back off to the fucking control center to cry about it. Like, it's so well done. And don't get me started on like the thematic parallels between Gon and Meruem, and how their character roles begin to like slowly reverse as the
Yet they never meet.
And they just don't,
No.
Yeah, they are both children way out of their depth.
Yeah.
We lost a little bit of Frank. He's a little far away right now.
I'm here.
Okay.
No, but you're quiet.
Yeah, you're quiet.
I think you bumped your mic or something.
Yeah.
You got a little too excited.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to like contain myself because everything about
Yeah.
You're still very
You're
quiet.
still very quiet.
Oh no.
Am I better now?
No.
No.
Oh no.
Steve, can we cut this part?
Just save it, Frank.
Cut the Hunter x Hunter discussion? What will we do?
No, we can hear you. You're just quiet. Like, what did you do to your mic?
I didn't do anything. I'm just talking normally.
Make sure it's
you
plugged
did
in.
something.
Make sure
We
it's
heard
plugged
you
in
hit.
correctly.
We heard something hitting your mic.
Hello.
He just hits it
Oh,
again.
It's not better.
Oh no.
Anyway, hello. Can you hear me now? Can you
Yeah, we'll
Speak
try to be
louder.
quiet for you. Steve might have to make some alterations in
I'm
post.
not doing that.
Look, we'll take a break before the top 5, and we'll sort it out.
Oh god.
All right. Well, I mean, I
Any-
do feel like there is more to talk about with Hunter x Hunter.
There's a lot more to talk about with Hunter.
See, now you're back to normal.
Okay,
So
good.
you're
Okay,
allowed-
don't touch it again. All right.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. So I didn't touch anything, by the way.
Okay, you're good now.
all right.
did.
So it seems like much of the discussion is focused on Chimera Ant and spoilers.
Well, I decided to focus it on Chimera Ant because the rest of the material has been adapted already in '99.
Right. Okay.
So Chimera Ant is where I wanted to put the most focus on because that's the new material. Though granted, they did make some pretty substantial changes from '99 by removing the Kite episode, which would be the first one in '99, and putting that in a flashback that comes later into Chimera Ant arc.
That was the wrong decision.
Yeah, I agree, but I guess they wanted to make sure that like you didn't like forget that character because it is like 76 episodes later. So it's like, and I guess the other reason is because they want you to use that first episode to get more attached to Kurapika and Leorio instead of Kite and fucking Mito-san, who pretty much never show up again. Well, Mito-san shows up in an unlimited capacity, but Kite doesn't show up in '99
You
at
don't
all.
need to call her
after
Mito-san. You don't know her.
Well, no, he doesn't know her well. That's why he calls her San.
Oh, right. That's true.
that. I mean, we can talk about how incredible Gon's fight with Hisoka is at Heaven's Arena, and how like absolutely incredible. The sense of sound direction is there, that you have basically this huge flurry of punches going on with absolutely no music in the background at the end of episode 35 before Gon comes out from behind the fucking panel and lands his first fucking swing on Hisoka's forest, and the music just swells up.
Yeah.
Like, that's incredible.
Yeah. Great moment in an arc that I was a little kind of wishy-washy with.
Well, it's
I understand the necessity of it, and I do appreciate that it did seem like there was a plan for the Nen stuff early on. But yes, they do. I'm not sure if it's not exactly front-loaded, truncated. We get a lot of information dumps.
Yeah,
and I would say when it comes to something like Chimera Ant, and I think I appreciate Chimera Ant as an interesting experiment in storytelling, in that it challenges the idea of show versus tell by telling so much that it becomes your show. It's just all these different things happening within a single second at a time.
Yeah, if you didn't have that narrator, you would be completely fucking lost in that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because things are just happening so quickly, and you need to keep tabs on what everyone is doing at any given time to keep an eye on the timeline, because it's important once characters meet up to have a sense of their.
It's not a matter of, I needed Yuppie's character to have to be more human, so I needed to just stop everything and write a bunch of humanization for Yuppie. It's more like these are things that can happen in moments like this.
Right. But then that has a profound effect on Knuckle too, because Knuckle spares him after seeing that. So it's important to have that context moving forward. It's not something that they could have just cut out. Yeah. So these are all important things to have.
I think maybe the one hang up I have is the turnaround for Palm being a little fast. Like her whole plot point about her being turned into an ant, and then she's brainwashed, and then she's not.
Yeah, well, I think the idea was just that Killua was being so earnest in that moment that it brought her back to her senses, because you never see that from Killua. Yeah, when Killua breaks down in tears in front of her.
Yeah, I think the idea pays off well in the final scene where Meruem almost kneels in front of her and she tells him to stop.
Yeah,
I think that scene's fucking A+ Kino.
Well, I mean, if you had told me that Palm would be the one out here saying shit maybe humans and Chimera Ants aren't so different after all, I would have scoffed at you. I would have been like, "That? Do you think the writing there is fucking good? Are you kidding me?" But they pull it off with such finesse that I think having her be the focus character there is important, because then you get that bit with Moral afterwards where it's we don't like, can we trust her? She's a Chimerian, and then Moral has to go off and be listen, in the field, we trust our own, and that's exactly what we're doing here. And that's you get little bits of characterization throughout for all of them.
It is a show that feels much bigger than its protagonist.
Yeah, it absolutely is. The side characters in that show are all great. And how about that that moment where fucking Sakamoto-kun fucking invades the palace on his own, and then he gets a whiff of that aura after he was shitting on Gon and Killua for being scared of it, and he gets so fucking shook that his hair turns white.
And then he goes bald.
Yeah, I love that. I thought so fun.
And I hate to use this term, the deconstruction aspect of it. But Gon is ostensibly Kid Goku if you took that sociopath part of his character seriously.
Well, I love that he just becomes the villain, straight up. He with that scene where he's sitting there biding his time for fucking Pito to heal Komugi, and he's I'm taking Pito, and if anything happens to me, kill that girl. It's Jesus fucking Christ, man. Like, and obviously, like, like he's never known grief before. Like you can rationalize his morality however you want to, but like. It's really just such an incredible turnaround, and then obviously to see Meruem so hesitant to fight Netero until he essentially like holds his name over his head and forces his hand, like shit like that. Like it's fucking compelling, man. Like, and with all the focus on the Chimera, like people forget about the Nanika stuff. But the Nanika stuff is not bad either. Maybe a little like tough to like wrap your head around. Like, oh, I guess he just had a fucking secret sibling in his basement the whole entire time or whatever. But I did think that like it was pretty interesting to see. Everyone getting together for the fucking the chairman election. It's a good excuse to have the gang back together. You get to see Hisoka fight again, which is something that you didn't get to see for a long time, and watching him fight is just so entertaining. Like, Bungee Gum is just the perfect fucking power for him.
Well, if you didn't know, I don't know if you know this, but it actually has the properties of both rubber and gum.
Fucking, and the anime didn't even get into the "oh my rubber nen" shit.
No, it did not. No. And at this pace, it never fucking will.
It never will. It never will.
Yeah. They had no chapters last year.
That's sad. That's fucking sad.
Did it have any in 2018?
Yeah, it had a couple in 2018.
Okay.
It ended in like November 2018.
Well.
That's like the last time we got a chapter. We got 2 volumes in 2018, surprisingly. Anyway, Hunter x Hunter, very very good. If you're jonesing for a good shonen, don't let the 148 episodes get in the way of that. And the place
I will.
The place that it ended is a very very good place to end, despite it not being the quote unquote ending. Like, Gon meets his dad. They have that great conversation on top of the tree. He has his touching farewell with Kyo at the end of it, and that slow little pan across everyone, like seeing where they are now, and then obviously you get that bit with fucking Meruem in Komugi's hands, and it's like, oh my god, like, episode 135 is probably my favorite episode of any shonen I've ever seen. Like, makes me bawl like a baby every fucking time. It's so good.
Well, I didn't cry.
There, just
so fuck you.
What?
I said I didn't cry, so fuck you.
You didn't cry?
No. I don't cry at gay baby shows.
Oh. It's just so sad. Like, and they managed to do so much with so little. Like, them in the dark, like playing Gungi in their heads, and it's good. It's good shit. Like, I love Hunter x Hunter. Anyway, didn't mean to go off that long. Who's up?
Steve.
I guess it is me, because Omega already did.
Yes,
right?
it's Steve.
So my number 6, and then I guess this will be the last one for this round, is Haikyuu.
Wow. Bless you.
And contrary to some people who've already stated such in this podcast, Haikyuu is the best sports anime of the decade.
Yeah, we'll fucking see about
that. And it was one of those shows I just watched on a whim because everyone said it was really good, but I had very little experience with sports anime prior to this, and most of the ones I had watched were not particularly good. Some of you may recall that shitty, like, was it like a running parkour show with the 2 Sephiroths? Remember that one?
Yes. Oh my god.
Yeah, there's some bad fucking sports anime out there. So,
Prince of Stride.
This one, like, was very hyped. And it also was one that was like, a lot of sports anime are specifically targeting Fujo, but this is clear. This is not that. So this is one anyone can enjoy. And you.
Wrestling bags.
And the reason you can enjoy it is it's really fucking good. And probably my favorite thing about it is the excruciatingly level of detail they go to justify everything in the show. Like, it takes pretty much any element of volleyball that you could consider relevant to the sport and presents it in a way that's not only easy to understand, but is parallel to the characters extremely well. They take their time to build up these characters in a way that's not only believable, but just works well for just telling an overall story, a sports story of this kind of underdog team that's put together at the last minute who go on to great things. So it's still ongoing. The new season just started airing, but like the first and the third seasons particularly are fucking amazing. The third season itself just being a 10-episode season about one game that is the hypest game ever played. So yeah, Haikyuu is fucking amazing.
Well, the rules don't say that a dog can't play volleyball.
All right, Steve, you're up again.
Right. Well, we got to take a break.
Oh,
this is the end of this segment. But yeah, after this break, it is the last segment where we'll each reveal our top 5.
The last time we'll ever talk about anime. Wow.
Yup. So stay tuned.
Let it die.
Welcome back one final time to this episode 40 of the Luckycast. We are wrapping up our anime of the decade discussion. We each have 5 shows left, so let's get to them. And I guess we left off on me. I'm going to pick up this round, and my number 5 show is Anohana. Anohana is a show that I find very difficult to describe because my enjoyment of it was purely, I feel like, an emotional one, and it's kind of difficult for me to describe that. I had a very, I guess I would call it kind of a personal reaction to that show. The way it depicted those group of friends and the way they reflected on their childhood together was something I just felt an immediate connection with. And I think probably the thing right away that drew me in was that second episode. It was just all about these kids getting together and trading their old Pokemon together. It's one of my favorite episodes of any anime ever, I think, just because of how relatable and endearing that whole scenario was. And it just kind of goes on from there, including one of the, it's a bit cheap in terms of emotional reactions, but like the ending did fucking get me, and it got me good. And, with a show like this, that's what I want out of it. I want to feel something. And it gave me a lot to feel, and that's what I'll always remember about this show.
I'd be lying if I said I tried my best to make the ending not get me.
You know it's coming.
Yeah, but it got me anyway. Yeah. The ending did get me.
Oh, so you think Hunter x Hunter is gay baby shit, but you cried at Ohana?
I didn't cry.
Yeah,
I didn't cry.
You didn't cry.
You cry.
I'm
Frank. I didn't cry in any
It's probably best for me not to put my input here.
It's okay. We know how you feel about Mario Kart. It's okay. And I get it.
It's mainly the penultimate episode than it is the last episode. I don't mind. I don't mind the last episode that much. I mean, more. I think my biggest problem with the show is just the fact that Menma is the biggest non-character in any anime.
It's okay. She's a cute ghost girl.
And it's hard for me to like. It's hard to me to understand why these characters would care this much.
Really,
about
it's hard. It's hard for you to imagine why they would care about a friend who died.
To affect, I don't know, to affect them that much.
It's pretty
that many
kind of a
years,
traumatic childhood experience.
That's
what if Kenny died? How would you feel?
I mean, I'd be bad. I'd feel really bad about it, but
I don't think it's fair because he's never met Kenny.
No offense, but I'd probably get over it after maybe a year. Most deaths.
I was very surprised when it turned out that Menma was an actual fucking poltergeist.
Like Kenny Geist.
Yeah.
I feel
that
like
did make things rather convenient in terms of convincing them to go along with this.
Hey, why didn't he just point out the fact that Why didn't he just have her do something?
I mean, the whole time building up to that, I just thought he's the only person who could see her interacting with things, and it was some other, vision. But I guess she was actually a poltergeist.
I think you're like, I don't think it's meant to be thought like that.
I
thinking is wrong.
No, never mind. I don't want to have debates at this hour.
Look, okay, all right.
It was just Steve's number 5.
To defend myself here,
it'd be at least 2 years.
You don't have to. It's fine. Like I'm not.
Okay.
It's okay if you don't like the show. I'm not mad. So, I just it affected me emotionally. I had that reaction to it. That's why it's so special to me. That's why it is this high on the list. That's pretty much it.
I just wish Menmo was more than just cute girl.
But she was. So
Omega.
But she was.
Okay.
So Omega.
My number 5, Psychopaths. Yo, this show fucks.
It's good.
It's so good. I get hard thinking about it right now.
It's a good thing you didn't watch the second season.
Oh yeah, I heard that sucks. The show, it just wins on every level. I love it so much. It's so well done.
Do you remember when he tossed the phone to her?
Yes. It's
the Psychopaths.
Truly, it's also got some great music. I know we mentioned that before.
Oh, yeah. Oh, the soundtrack is amazing.
The soundtrack's great. Just really, really, just an amazing show. That's all I gotta say.
Not a lot of good cyberpunk anime these days.
Yeah, this one's a good one.
Frankie.
Everyone at the Tommy Galaxy talks really fast, so I decided I'm going to do this one really fast. Tommy Galaxy. So this is Tommy Galaxy. It's my number 5. It's really, really good. The directorial style is really good. Yuasa is really, really good. He's, a great director. It's a show that is, the way that it is on purpose. And when it flips it on its head in the last 2 episodes, it makes for a really, really strong finale. I like how it's divided into little mini arcs. I think that all of its characters are really fun and engaging. And it's a show that I watched, right when I was getting out of college, so it might have had a little bit more of an emotional impact on me than I would have had if I had watched it at some other point in my life. But I really enjoyed it, and I definitely think that it has a lot of merit to it. The writing is strong, and I highly recommend it. Anyway, it's Tommy Galaxy, number 5. That's it.
Nice. Episode 10 is one of the best episodes of the decade, in case anybody
is so fucking good.
Wondering. It is one of the best individual episodes I've seen of the show this decade.
Yeah, yet another show I feel like I need to rewatch again, but at the same time, I kind of feel I really liked it. And I think I liked the comedy of the show more than I did the actual message. Maybe it's just because maybe it was just a wrong time for me to have watched that show, but the message for me kind of like I get it. I get what it's saying, but it just, I don't know, it's just one of those things that I'm so tired of hearing, I guess.
I thought that the imagery with the Mochi Gumon was really strong. I really liked the stuff that they did with that. I do wish that Akashi had a little bit more of a personality, but I think that the main character is really fleshed out, and I love Ozu. He's such a little fucking gremlin.
I feel like the show maybe would have worked. This is based off a novel, and I feel like maybe it would have been better to read it than to watch it.
I don't know. I think
trying to follow all the fucking dialogue and at the same time also trying to focus on the visuals. I feel like this might be a show that's kind of like this is not an entry level anime.
No, it's certainly not. But I mean, characters in Bakemonogatari talk really fast too, and you didn't see that have much trouble following that dialogue.
Not that fast.
That's true.
Matt hyperventilating.
Anyway, I do think that the format of the show makes it really work well as an anime, because you really get I do get the sense that it would work as a novel, but I think that switching up the format of it in the last 2 is something that works really strong because it's an anime. Like that's Yuasa putting his own little flair on it, I think, and it works to the show's benefit tremendously.
I realized the other day that the show is literally just Groundhog's Day.
Not everything that's a time loop is Groundhog Day.
It kind of is, though. Even down to the.
Do you think Endless 8 is Groundhog Day?
No, because that's not because the whole point of Endless 8 is.
Isn't today literally Groundhog's Day?
Yes, it is. Stop my God!
Day.
Imagine being stuck in a loop of recording this podcast every day.
Oh my fucking God!
Who's next? Who is next?
Matt, go back.
Matt.
Quick,
At the loop.
Too late. Quick, do your homework. Number 5. This is one we already touched on a little bit, so it's not going to be much. Second season of March Comes In Like a Lion.
So good.
Everything that Frank already said, although one part he forgot to mention was the 10 minutes of the one episode dedicated entirely to this one old guy with a pigeon. And like, I don't think I've ever watched an anime that introduces a character in such a short amount of time, develops them in 10 minutes, and has an ending to that character in just 10 minutes that feels satisfying and complete.
Oh, that's the guy that made Nikaido faint in the middle of his match.
Right. And
and then they flesh him out in the next episode, and they're like, "Oh yeah, like right. I my two hobbies, shogi and racing pigeons." Like
they introduce that character, have him only be in like 10 minutes of one episode, and flesh him out pretty much completely, and have a satisfying, heartfelt end to his little arc there, and his little pigeon pet friend, and that is something that like 99% of anime is completely unable to do over the course of an entire series. So the fact that they could do that in 10 fucking minutes is really commendable.
Yeah, they did a great job.
Which is why this is one of the few shows to get a 10 from me. But yeah, the great fucking show.
Funk.
I'm here.
Okay.
So number 5, we don't have to talk much about because it's prison school, and we covered that already. I don't really have anything meaningful to add, but I agree with everything we've said. The show was excellent and far better than anybody expected it to be, or better than it had any right to be, really. But it's a great show. Next.
Oh my God, it's me, my man, Dr. Pavel here.
Are you aware of the memes? Yes.
So my number 5 is Shin Sekai Yori. I love dystopia. The best episode of that mess that was Darling in the Franxx was what is that guy's name? Zorome? His very special
Which
episode.
guy?
The little kid. Zorome.
Oh, when he goes and meets like that old woman.
Yeah, when he goes and meets the old woman. Yeah.
Right.
Shin Sekai Yori is a miserable but functional dystopia. It's got strict rules. Everyone ostensibly just lives as a brainwashed drone until they die, and it forces you to confront how the entirety of human history boils down to a simple us versus them conflict. And then the morality got sorted out later. It is a wonderful show, dripping with atmosphere. And its villain also did nothing wrong, but also everything wrong, because he was also a piece of shit. Really, it was just us versus them. If you haven't watched Shin Sekai Yori, I highly recommend that you do. I think only Matt. No. Frank has, and then Steve dropped it.
Yeah, I never finished it.
It's a great show.
There is a heavy exposition dump in one of the early episodes, and it is the most interesting exposition dump I've ever heard in an anime. I was glued to the screen the entire time as these characters watch on in horror as they listen to the history of their society. It's so good. Perfect finale too, because it's not about uprooting this society. They're just fighting over this empty shell, really, of what remains of humanity, barely functional, that could at any point just tip over again. Just a great show. And I guess I'm up next again. No, that's true. Yeah. I can't pass the baton here. So my number 4 is Hibike Euphonium. And what can I say when I say that I just love the development of Kumiko in this show as she learns to want things again, where she's sort of in denial of how much passion she actually has for her craft. And it starts off with her kind of being confused and enamored with someone like Reina. And she starts to take on a little bit more of that tenacity as time goes on. And then also her passivity as when it comes to conflict in the second season, when you guys start to see kind of this separate conflict boil up, where she takes a very passive role in this whole thing. It ended up being pretty deliberate. I actually kind of like the way that paid off later, even though initially I was like, how much time are we going to spend on Oboe and Elbow over here? But the way that comes about in when they start talking to Asuka, who's going to leave the band at one point, and she tries to keep it general, keep herself detached when she's trying to convince Asuka to rejoin the band, or stay with the band. And Asuka's just not having any of it. She's just tearing her down, cutting her open, really. And then finally she just kind of admits that it's just like, it's a selfish reasoning. Like, I want to play with you. I want to do it. It's a wonderful episode. I think the best episode in the entire series is You Really Are Hibike Euphonium, Kumiko. The one where they sit by the riverbank together.
Yeah, that's a lovely episode.
It's a lovely episode, and I just love how the girls in this anime, like I would say the three main ones, Reina, Kumiko, and Asuka, none of them are really that sweet. They're kind of dickheads sometimes too.
Yeah, Asuka especially. Asuka's a
a real shithead.
Well, what I love about Asuka is that Asuka is a character that thrives because KyoAni is a studio that makes every effort in capturing like even the most subtle of movements and how they reflect into the personalities of the characters.
Asuka, talk about like visual attention to detail. It's like what happened to the studio is just... I know we already touched on the fire ship, but man...
Wait, what happened to the studio?
No.
Oh my god, I feel terrible about what I said before.
Okay, who's next? Oh,
could not have happened to a worse studio.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Is it me?
Funk, you're number 4.
Yeah, it's you.
All right. So my number 4 is a show that we touched on, I think. Flip Flappers.
Not really, actually.
Yeah.
Not much.
Which I hope is because everybody has it at 4 or higher on their lists. Right? So Flip Flappers is an absolute gem of a show. I remember being just completely stuck on it from the first episode, which, I said it before, is very much just like a short film and how complete it is. But luckily, we got a whole series worth of quality beyond that, and very varied quality. The show really took a lot of steps into different genres and styles, and put its fingers in a lot of different pies, and it was always interesting to watch, which is probably what I want the most from anime that I watch, is to just be interested in them and intrigued rather than necessarily satisfied. But luckily, Flip Flappers delivered on that satisfaction as well. And you tuned in every week with like a sense of surprise and curiosity because you didn't know what they were going to try to do next. So it's one of the more successful shows relative to the risks it took, rather than just other shows that might have done one thing even better than Flip Flappers ever gets to. But aside from some people mistakenly reading into certain themes that may have not actually been present in this show, I have no gripes with it. I think it's excellent. It's an artistic achievement, and I would recommend it to just about anybody.
I would like to add a quick addendum to my list.
Mm-hmm.
So I had Flip Flappers within the top 25.
Oh no!
I'm going to create an addendum, and I'm going to tie it for 20 with Space Dandy because I like the shows for similar reasons.
Yay!
Great.
And you know what? It's got a great title.
So we all agree, by the way, that Kokona is the flap that is getting flipped.
Yes. Papika flips Kokona's flaps.
Right.
Yes.
Truly.
Kakana.
Anyway, yeah, Flip Flappers is great.
What just happened?
He mad. So why don't we kick it off to number 4 with Matt?
All right, number 4. Number 4. High Bike, Euphonium, both seasons.
Wow.
We've already said enough about this, but
You guys really like this desk anime.
yeah, we do. The way that they move the desks around, which is really great.
Mwah!
Yeah, Kumiko is. I never understood the whole concept of a waifu until I watched the show and saw Kumiko, and then I realized this.
And you heard the noises.
This is it. This is what it feels like to have a waifu. But yeah, this show is great. It really sat well with me because even though I never really went to such professional degrees with it, I was in a school orchestra.
To be in a marching band.
Wait, what instrument?
Cello.
Oh.
I played cello. For like 2 years. And yeah, it's fucking hard, and one person fucking up can ruin the whole thing. It's amazing how much one person can just affect an entire sound of a song.
Not my
So yeah, this show is very on point with that. The attention to detail is amazing. The show itself is beautiful looking. The one episode of the first season with them like overlooking the city and the little fucking finger running down her nose thing is just great. There's just so many like little scenes here and there in the show that are just phenomenal. It made the Yuri fans seethe. So yeah, it's just.
If I could make a knock against the show, I mean they did legitimately bait them hard.
This was legitimate Yuri baiting, and it was glorious. When they got blown the fuck out in the movie, apparently. So
they broke up.
But yeah, I don't know. Either way, it's a It's a great show. Both seasons. First season, I think, is much better than the second. But yeah, it's just a phenomenal show. And I really love when shows do this and actually have the characters not go all the way to the top, because it really does emphasize how you're not always gonna get ahead in life, but it's not necessarily about becoming the best. It's just about getting better and learning from your mistakes and improving and motivation and whatever. But yeah, it's a great series.
Wow.
Omega.
Goodbye, Bike.
Oh, it's me.
Goodbye, Bike.
It's me, isn't it?
No, it's.
Oh
Omega.
yeah, it's Frank.
No, it's Frank. No, it's Frank.
It's Frank.
Yeah, it was
Go,
always
Frank. Go.
4 a.m. Here we come.
My number 4 is Mawaru Penguin Drum.
What?
Mawaru Penguin Drum.
Oh,
What
yeah.
is that? I've never heard of this
one.
show.
Don't worry, guys. I know this one.
It was recommended to me.
The Mawaru Penguin Drum is a very good show made by Iguhara, who had previously worked on a fair bit of Sailor Moon and Revolutionary Girl Utena before taking a massive break from the anime industry, pitching this idea for a crazy show to multiple different studios before it finally got accepted by Brains Base, which at the time was not the most well-known of studios. And Penguin Drum is a delight. The themes of Penguin Drum are super strong. It's got this big found family vibe to it, and he's really exploring the nature of what makes a family, and on top of that, how far someone should go in pursuit of destiny, which is really cool stuff. Visually, it's great. Quality wise, in terms of the visuals, there are ups and downs, but the visual imagery and the way that scenes play out, the way that Ikuhara frames his scenes is one of a kind. He's one of my favorite directors for a reason, and literally every frame is just full of he does everything intentionally. And he's a notorious perfectionist when it comes to stuff like that. He's just such a stickler for getting everything right with the symbolism. And there's a great payoff at the end. I only watched the show last year, and it wouldn't be a stretch to say that I think about it literally all the time ever since I finished it. It's awesome. It's a great show. If you haven't seen any...
Sorry, I've only just started this one.
Okay.
And a couple minutes into it, I was kind of thinking, no, I'm not... Typically, I start making judgments very early. So
right.
A couple minutes into it, I'm thinking, I'm not quite sure about what I'm seeing thus far. And as soon as that transformation sequence happened in the first episode...
Crazy.
Oh my gosh! I was immediately wanting more, and I'm definitely going to continue.
No, it's a lot of fun. Wait until you find out what the 95s everywhere mean.
Wonderful.
It's fucking crazy. There's this whole setting of the Destination of Fate is really cool. There's a very special episode that comes around right around the middle in episode 9 that has an assistant director come on board, and it's Himari's focus episode. And it's stunning. It's one of my favorite episodes of the decade, bar none. The dialogue is really good. He definitely has a lot of ideas that he wanted to put forward with this. And, my biggest gripe with the show by the end of it is that after a point, there are a lot of balls that he has juggling in the air. And he doesn't necessarily catch them all in the most graceful fashion. But the ones that, are the most important to catch are the ones that he did, and it worked out really, really well. I
I really liked it. I really hope you continue it because it's pretty excellent.
Fine, I will.
Yeah.
I will.
You really bullied him into it.
Yeah.
Utena is the quintessential like Yuko show, but Penguin Drum is a very worthy successor to it, and I really, really enjoyed it. So that's my number 4.
My number 4 is yours truly. It's Prison School.
Hell yeah.
We've said enough about it. Someone go.
It's Steve.
Did you like it?
Yes, I fucking love. It's my number 4. It's fucking great. It's amazing. You know what I like most about it, Steve? Is that it proved that buttmen are the superior race.
All right, so
boobmen are fucking brainlets.
Here's a side that someone misunderstood Prison School. If they think the correct answer to that was butts over boobs, he was lying the whole time to tell the chairman exactly what he wanted to hear. Kiyoshi was a boob man through and through.
Remember that time the crow was killing the ants, but it wasn't killing the ants? It was fucking Kino.
This is the Prison School discussion I wanted.
So the truth is that it's showing that ass men are easily deluded by their breast men brethren, and thus they are the true brainlets in the situation.
Remember that episode where it was like a battle of the kisses?
Yeah,
where
it
was great.
Steve.
Yeah.
You're up.
Let's go.
All right. Number 4 for me is Origairu.
Wow.
I'm not saying the whole title.
That's
Origairu.
Love comedy snafu.
That's
Don't
wrong
say
as I
snafu.
expected, but wow.
So the show is as high as it is, largely on the strength of the second season, which isn't to say like the first season is bad. The first season is very good and enjoyable, but upon watching the entire series, it became like very apparent to me that the first season is really just the setup for the amazing second season, which basically takes everything the first season sets up and tears it apart and recontextualizes everything that you know about these characters and their scenarios, and basically builds it back up into one of the most amazing high school romance/drama shows I could possibly imagine, because that is very much a type of show that is easy to get wrong, and plenty of anime fuck this up. It can be very difficult to care about stupid high school bullshit and drama, but the way this show handled it with a level of grace and maturity just won me over so easily. It's a show that like has so much depth to its characters. It handles its love triangle exceptionally well, which is again something most shows that try to do this completely
Even though
botch.
you know who's gonna win.
You do, but it's not even really about that.
Yeah.
And it's just because every character in the show fulfills their role in that show exceptionally well. And even as you go further into the series, it takes characters that you think were just kind of minor and actually makes them into something interesting to serve the greater story. So yeah, this show was one of those shows that I really just wish I could go back and watch again for the first time, because it was like I remember having like such an epiphany about it that I immediately went to the Sonic board and just wrote this big ass fucking diatribe of it in the CT.
He did. That's what got me to watch it.
It was amazing. And you know, despite how 8-Man seemingly spawned a trend of characters like him.
Literally me.
Yes, but he is that character. He is that character done right, and that he carries that story because of that. So, I cannot say enough good things about this show, so I will stop because I don't want to go on all night.
You actually can't stop because you have to also share your number 3. So.
Oh my! Did you want to say anything before I do that, Colin?
On this one?
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
Oh well, I mean, I found it entirely enjoyable for the most part, same reasons as you did. I'm not sure if it quite resonated with me the exact same way, but I am fully willing to acknowledge that it is a very nice like romance story, and I do see it as primarily like Yukino and Hachiman's romance, and like Yui as a character does not have enough depth to really make me assume that she is any kind of contender.
Well, it's because you picked the wrong boat in Iroha, so.
I didn't look. I don't favor Iroha because I assume she's going to win. I favor Iroha because she's just my favorite. All right.
Yeah, but you still believe though. I knew you. Still believed.
I never believed.
Colin's a Patriots fan.
We literally were on the podcast all the way back when, and I was all like, "Oh yeah, obviously it's Yukino's romance. It's their romance." Get out of here. I remember that conversation. Get the fuck out of my face. I'll kill you. Get your number 3 out.
All right. Well, speaking of romance, my number 3 show is Ano Natsu de Materu, or whatever. Waiting the Summer is the English title.
I've seen this.
Yeah, because I made you watch it. This show is fucking amazing because, you know what? I am a sucker for a really, really well done romance show, and this is basically that to the nth degree, with a completely weird and bizarre setup that works, of just like this alien girl who comes to Earth. But it's I only found this out later, but it's basically just like what's the name of the show? It's like Please Teacher. It's from the same guy. He basically did that premise again, but way better. Because I went back and watched that show and was like, oh wow, it's basically the same show except this one is way better. I was completely in love with this cast. And again, another show that really knows how to do a love triangle extremely well. I think it's even bigger than a love triangle. It's like a love it's like a love conga line or something. But
love dodecahedron, baby.
Yeah, it's like it, and oh god, it has those little details of romance that so many other shows wouldn't even think to do. I think I've brought this up before, but there is a moment where you have two characters with glasses kissing, and their glasses like touch each other. It's like, who thinks of adding that little detail? This show fucking does, and those are the little things about this show that just like amazed me of how you sell this shit. And then it ends with like a wacky fucking Men in Black conspiracy theory that like was like, I don't know what, it was just like, oh my god. Okay, I'm gushing because it's fucking 3 a.m. and I'm losing it, but yeah, this show's fucking great.
Nice. There it is.
Oh no! Wait, is it my turn?
Yeah, you're up.
Number 3. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
No.
Season 1, parts 1 and 2, baby. Let's play it. This is a great show. I loved it. It's great. It's great.
Is that Frank masturbating?
Part 1 is great. Part 2 is even better. JoJo, let's go. Okay, who's next?
Me. I'm up. I'm so happy.
Frank, go. Take us home.
Thank you so much for picking my show as your number 3. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.
My number 3 is a show that I previously gushed about a lot with Colin. It's Hyoka.
Yay!
I love Hyoka. From the jump in the first 3 episodes, I was already enraptured by how clever the mystery writing was. They clearly put a lot of thought into it. Like, right from the scene where, the solutions to the mystery was that he was smoking. And obviously it's like, oh, of course Chitanda had a cold because, if her nose wasn't stuffed up, then obviously she would have smelled that. And I was like, oh, I'm picking up what you're putting down. Okay, perfect. But right at the ice cream scene, fucking incredible. Holy shit. I sat there the whole entire time with my mouth just agape. And I know there are like people that are of two minds of that. Like, on the one hand, there's people who are like, oh, ice cream. But then it's the people who are like, oh my god, it's ice cream. Oh, and I was definitely like in that latter camp. It was so sick. And that scene where she just visualizes like the rabbit biting back, and it's just like, oh my god, it's
insane. And then one arc is better than the next when it comes to that. Like, that first arc is excellent, but the movie making arc is a really, really great way to postulate what the show is trying to put down about Oriki's character. And then when you get into Kanyasai, you get into the way that every character has to confront a part of themselves that they're insecure about. It's not just Oriki, but Chitanda is obviously put into dire straits when she has to kind of try and market this thing that she's very passionate about. Maika is dealing with the same feelings of insecurity about her talent that are sort of contrasted with Oriki, so that makes for a nice little parallel with the previous arc. And everything about that manga is just it's very, very cohesive and well written. And then of course you have Satoshi, who you see hints of resentment all throughout, but it really comes to a head at the end of the Kanyasai, which really comes full force when you get to the easiest mystery of all time, which is who broke the Valentine's Day chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
And from the jump that it's him, but you kind of don't want to. You don't want to see it. But man, seeing fucking what?
No, not you. Somebody said you hate to see it, and I told them to stop.
seeing fucking Chitanda break down like that, and then Oriki.
What anime is this?
Hyoka. Go watch Hyoka, you idiot.
I watched this show and I feel like I don't remember a whole lot of these things.
It's so good. But when you see Chitanda break, and you don't remember when Satoshi broke Maika's chocolate and Chitanda went on a fucking.
I remember the school festival arc being very good, and the point where I actually started to really like the show.
Yeah,
all I know is
great.
This was legitimately one of those shows that was don't worry, it gets better about halfway in.
No, yeah, I thought it was really good.
I found it to be pretty just okay up until the halfway point, where from then on it's this is actually really great now.
It's all right, Colin. You and I, we know we're the patricians.
I just want to point out real quick that my energy on this podcast, and it's later for you guys, but I'm an early birdie boy. But my energy on this podcast peaked on my Hyoka, and I'm just about done. So I'm sorry if I'm not jumping in here, Frank. Although I am enjoying.
You're totally fine.
All right.
I just think that it's such a good show, and there are so many good scenes and episodes, and there's so much to talk about, as is the sign of a really good character drama. There's a lot to sink your teeth into, and there's a lot more to it than you might think just looking at the surface with this guy who's talk about Hachiman inspiring a whole genre of characters, and him. Oriki is out here if I don't have to do anything, I won't do it. And if I do, I'll just do it quick. And then the show just goes to such great lengths to show why that's such an unreasonable way to live without being preachy about it, which I really, really enjoyed. I thought it was great. If the other two on my list weren't so excellent, Hyoka would be number one. But it was really, really hard for me to put it at 3. So that's it. That's it for my number 3. Who's after me? Matt?
Funk.
I think.
Matt.
Funk. Matt.
Matt.
Who is it?
No, it's Matt. It's Matt.
Oh.
3.
My number 3 is the disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya.
Hell yeah.
My God.
Which is
the second longest anime movie ever?
Yes.
You're going to trigger Omega again.
This is a phenomenal movie, and an excellent capping off of the events that happened in season 2 of Haruhi. I will say that the way I watched Haruhi was probably a lot different than what a lot of other people did. I watched it the way that was recommended, which was in chronological order, not in release order.
Broadcast order is fucking terrible.
Because the
not the way to watch the show.
Because the broadcast order of the show is just completely all over the place and nonsensical, which is apparently how the light novel is actually done in itself.
I mean, yeah, the events are written out of order in the light novel, but
which just sounds like a really awful way to experience the story of this.
But it's like the stories are complete in and of themselves. It's not like you have a 2-part episode that's split up with a different episode in between them.
Right, which is apparently how it was broadcasted for some reason. But apparently wasn't the whole series broadcasted again in chronological order at one point?
Yes, and that's when they added the 2009 episodes.
Right. Okay. So that's why it was recommended like that, because that's how they actually did release it. And yeah, it was like I loved watching the show. I thought the show was great. Although it was very jarring jumping from Kiorani's 2006 Clannad-esque art style to K-On! Art style.
They did have K-On! Faces.
They did have K-On! Faces. And I count me into the pro Endless 8 camp, by the way.
Yeah, it is.
Because it is great. But the movie is just such a great capping off of all that. Yuki is such a phenomenal character all around. Sean is like one of the best, like, just fucking what do you call that? Like, just like every man.
Yes.
White male bearded protagonist type character, I guess, is like the Western equivalent. Like, just this everyman character in any anime. Because he's not just like an everyman. He is like just a phenomenal character on his own.
He represents the point of view of the audience, but he is also his own character, and the movie is the capping off of his arc in that series.
Exactly, and it's just a great character-driven movie, and despite its length, and while it does take a little bit of time to really get moving, sensibly so, it does not feel like that. It does not feel that long. It is just a really phenomenal movie all around. And if they never make another season of Horror Heat, I still feel like I would be kind of pretty satisfied with what we got, because that ending
that surprisingly works as a satisfying conclusion
to the story. Yeah, it feels very conclusive, and because it does feel like this is like, despite all the shit that he has to put up with, that one scene at the end where he is just lying down asleep next to him, and he's just kind of like caressing her face a bit. It's so good.
His whole 5-minute introspection scene is like one of the best scenes of any movie I've ever seen. It's phenomenal.
You mean the part where he where the other Kyon has his foot on his head or something?
Yes, whole sequence.
That whole sequence was just holy shit. So
you know what? I'm going to talk about this now too, because it's my number 2 pick. So there's no need to talk about it.
Okay.
It is. I feel like it is KyoAni's masterpiece.
This is by far the best thing they've ever done.
Yeah, and I don't watch.
They were
a
on
lot of
fire when they were getting this one out.
Well, I don't watch a lot of anime movie, but like this one was like fucking phenomenal. And you know what? It's like, yeah, it is the perfect cap off to that series. It is like a fucking masterclass of direction. And I just like. I gotta say something dumb, but it's also up there with Iron Man 3 and Die Hard as among the best Christmas movies of all time. I'll just fucking say that.
Oh my fucking god!
Why don't we make our top 20 Christmas movies while we're here?
Yeah.
Wait till Christmas.
Yuki means snow.
Yes.
Spoilers.
That is a fucking great moment too. That's probably lost on some people, but I think the translations I watched did throw that in there for them.
Oh, I love that scene too, just because like what I really love about that one scene in particular is how Yuki is like this completely emotionless character, but despite that, like just like the very subtle way they make her look at Kyon and everything and how he talks to her, like you can tell she does, like the way that she feels about him is like true.
They do so much with so little. It's like you don't even need like we've talked about how this is basically a continuation of Endless 8 for her character, but they don't actually come out and say that. It's just the little things that you can tell are finally building up with her, and something's about to change, and it absolutely does.
Oh yeah. She is the best girl.
Yes. Also, it has a fucking amazing score.
Oh yeah, holy shit.
It's just the perfect cap off to the big emotional moment at the end there. It's like fucking, oh my god. I love that movie so much.
It's amazing.
Just imagine if you watched the series before watching the movie.
Oh yeah, I know. Imagine not watching like the entire series up to that point and then watching the movie. It just wouldn't be the same.
You can appreciate
especially
well
if
it's
you're
made,
watching
but
especially if you're watching it dubbed.
Yeah, yes. Like you can appreciate how well that movie is made without like watching the series, but obviously you miss a lot of the context that's going on there. Especially because like
I don't know what you mean.
It dips back so heavily into the previous story with the time travel stuff, but like it's just the perfect payoff for all of it.
It was a great movie.
Great.
It was a great movie.
Who the fuck is next?
It's fun.
I think I'm next. Number 3, is it?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Really a 3?
My number 3 is Nichijou. We talked about it before. It is truly excellent. And we are now reaching this upper echelon of shows that I consider to be approaching perfect. And Nichijou is definitely up there. But I don't have too much to add to the conversation, so in the interest of brevity, I'm just going to pass it along to Colin.
Okay, all right. I'm trying my best here. Trying my best. All right.
3 and 2, Colin.
Yeah. Number 3. I'm sorry. Number 3.
What?
Funk, don't be mad. Number 3. You gotta forgive me here. Number 3. Showa Genroku Rakugo Shinju.
Oh my god.
Show's good.
Show is excellent. It's not just a show about storytellers. It's a show about storytelling and how that storytelling affects them and how that storytelling affects others, what they expect their stories to be.
You could say that Showa Genroku Rakugo Shinju uses its storytelling characters to tell a story about storytelling.
Yes, that's. I mean, I already said it's a story about storytelling.
No, you needed to say it more like punchy, and it's funnier that way.
No, I don't. It's. I'm tired. What the fuck do you want from me?
I want to know why this isn't number 1.
Oh gosh, look, it's not number 1 because I also watched Ping Pong the Animation, and Ping Pong the Animation is a fucking triumph. Oh my god, when I was watching this and I slowly came to the realization.
Wait, is that your number 2?
Yeah, it's my number 2.
Woo!
And I came to the realization that Smile was not the main character, and it was actually Peko. I became so unbelievably hyped for where this show was going. I don't think I've seen a better payoff, like, well, probably this decade, really. It's such
the final 2 matches of that show were
incredible.
Some of the best things ever.
It's such a succinctly told story that wraps up perfectly. I don't think I could have asked for anything else from this. It even manages to work in the each one of the mentor characters all meeting up at the very end and getting that little piece of legacy at the end of it. And I do love Rakugo. I mean, it's a beautiful story about, friendship, growing up, love lost, all that sort of thing, about how it might be it might be a more interesting story if your son was actually the product of you and your adopted father fucking, that sort of stuff.
It happens every day.
Show of culture.
The Land of the Dead episode of Rakugo and the final moment where Masuda shows up as a 90-year-old man. I think that was probably the closest I came to actually crying at an anime.
Yeah, it was.
He's such a tough guy.
It was such a wonderful moment to have this one, literally just this one thread that interwove all of these different stories. It's just this decrepit skeleton. But he's a good guy. We like him.
Funk, you didn't watch this fucking show.
Anyway, passing it back to Funk.
All right.
Anyway,
Funk, you're up.
My number 2 is actually Showa Genroku Rakugo Shinju.
Oh my god.
What the?
Didn't even give it 1.
I didn't even give it 1. As I said before, that I think the top of the hill here are perfect shows, and I think Rakugo is a perfect anime in a way that I wouldn't describe anything else I've ever seen as. I thoroughly love it for many, many reasons. The only reason that it is not number 1 is because of the emotional connection I have with the show above it. But if I were to try to evaluate this any less personally, then it's very clear to me that Rakugo is the best show of the 2010s. Insofar as our definition of the 2010s that started at 2010 and ended 2019. But
Thank you for clarifying.
Yes. So yeah, we've talked a lot about it. I've said my piece, but I just can't stress enough that even though the show is number 2, it holds a very special place in my heart, and I love it so much. So pass this along, hot potato.
Matt, you're up.
I'm up. All right. My number 2 is both seasons of Mob Psycho 100.
Wow, that's high.
There's
Colin masturbating.
I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot to. We've already talked a lot about this show, but yeah, like Mob Psycho is just so fucking amazing. I love everything about this show. Animation is great. The fights are amazing. The characters are so unique and different. Reagan is one of the best fucking characters ever in any anime, and like for a show that is just that you think is just like a dumb comedy, it really turns itself around into like one of the most truly like dramatic shows I've watched, where it feels like everything really matters and the stakes are actually understandable, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think the thing about the stakes that I like, it's not really about does Mob beat the bad guy. It's how does Mob change as a person as a result of this? Right.
It's more. This is a show that's more about the. It's less about the.
Well, it's character driven. It's not plot.
It's character driven. It's more. It's less about the external conflict and more about the internal conflict.
It's all get out of your own way.
It's more about all the emotional turmoil and everything, and like from stuff like the one episode where Mob first kind of goes crazy against the big hair guy. What's his name? Teruki.
Teruki.
Yeah. That whole fight in the first season, and he like starts crying because of like him exploding, and like ends up having to put back together the school. the fight with the crazy dude who's possessing the girl and all that shit. Like like all the animation is like great and pretty and it looks nice, but like it's not so much about the fights as much as it is about him putting back together the story that the girl wrote. Or
Mob would be a good show even if it didn't look good.
Exactly.
That's the most incredible thing about it.
It could literally be a slideshow and it would still be amazing. It's just phenomenal all around. I absolutely love everything about this show. And man, do I hope that there is a season 3, even though I know apparently like there's not a whole lot left of the story.
Yeah.
I think there's enough for a season 3.
There's enough for like 10 episodes.
Right. So I really hope they at least do that eventually.
All right, Frank.
All right. So my number 2 is Monogatari series 2nd season. And I think that Bakemonogatari is one of the most perfect anime out there. It's a show, it's about communication, about dialogue, about openness, and about characters. It's a character drama. And what makes Monogatari series 2nd season so interesting is that it decides to build on that great character drama from season 1 and focus it into a narratively driven story that is told out of chronological order, but still manages to focus on like the developments that happened in the prior season and spin them into a very interesting story that spans across all the different characters while introducing some new ones. It's radiant. It serves as a phenomenal capstone to Tsubasa's arc. Because the end of Tsubasa's arc in Bakemonogatari was intentionally left sort of ambiguous in a way where it's like we can kind of revisit that again. Because he intended Bakemonogatari to be a sort of one-off thing, not knowing whether he was going to continue it, but he wanted to leave a potential avenue for if he wanted to. So he is continuing that in the first arc of 2nd season, and the payoff is huge. And I'm not just saying that as someone who loves Tsubasa. Like it's phenomenally well written. Her character dynamics with the other characters that you don't normally get to see with her, interacting with, like the payoff there is excellent. Her character relationship with Cedric Hara in particular is really, really good. Nadeko, who is probably the weakest character in the original Bakemonogatari, gets fully fleshed out and becomes an actual character and one of the strongest ones at that. Her arc is just outstanding. And the end of it in Koi Monogatari is just oh my god, what a finale. Like one twist after the other in terms of just subversion, and like it's just a remarkable narrative that really has a lot to say about how people interact, about putting yourself out there, about making yourself known and making yourself loved, and connecting with the people around you. It's so good, and it's Nisio trying a structure that he didn't try with any of his prior works, because again he's used to like spinning things into character drama, but he's not really used to spinning character drama into full-fledged like narrative. So he's kind of working in reverse of his usual structure, but the payoff is just so good, and it ties together so cohesively in the 2nd season, and like he's so on the ball when it comes to Monogatari. There's a reason why it's as popular as it is, and it's not just because the girls are cute and the songs are good and the visuals are nice. It's because the show has a beating heart underneath it, and I do think it's strongest in Bake, but 2nd season is a very worthy successor that continues that and keeps the energy going really well. Which is, especially good because Nisei is a bit of a downer. So that's all I have to say about second season. Who's next, Omega?
Yeah, my number 2 is Mob Psycho. Yeah, Steve, go.
All right, well, since my number 2, I already talked about it, was the disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya, I guess that brings us to 1, doesn't it?
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
And if someone else has this as their number 1, feel free to speak up. But my number 1 anime of the decade is Steins Gate.
Yeah, boys.
You too, Matt?
Yes.
Hell yeah. All right.
Oh yeah.
So, before any smartass brings it up, no, Steins Gate 0 does not count. It is a separate season. It is not a season 2. It does not factor into the quality of determining Steins Gate at all. Steins Gate on its own...
Even the visual novel is a completely different one, too, so...
Correct, yes. Steins Gate on its own is a fantastic time travel story, which is exactly what I want in pretty much any kind of fiction, period. And it's funny, because I almost missed this show, because when it was airing, I thought it had a stupid title, and why would I ever want to watch this? So
you don't fuck with semicolons.
Right, basically. They're very pretentious. So I didn't start watching this until like halfway through its original run, and then just I couldn't sleep one night, so I just I guess I'll check out this show. Oh wait, it's about time travel. Okay, this might actually be interesting. And like pretty much, it was like a very hot summer night. I just pretty much marathoned the entire fucking show, and I stopped at episode 12, which is the fucking episode of that show.
Holy shit!
I was hooked. From that moment on, like I was fucking hooked, and just like everyone fucking knows about Steins Gate, so it just feels like I'm gonna be saying obvious stuff here, but it's just like the dynamic between those characters and the build up of getting to know them and getting to know the kind of situation they're in, and just the escalation of the danger that they face.
Harem boss rush.
Well, yes, boss rush, but just the way things kind of unravel in the way a time travel story should, and then having to put everything back in order. It is just such an amazing ride from start to finish. It is Steins Gate. It is Steins Gate. I wish someday I'm gonna have to go play the visual novel. I've always wanted to. I've always just kind of put it off, but I just feel like having just consumed the anime, it's like that is amazing on its own right. The fact that this turned out as amazing as it did. So, that is my rant on Steins Gate. Matt, if you want to jump in here and add your take too, I would appreciate that.
So, my history with Steins Gate is I played the visual novel first because I just wanted to see the full story first before jumping into the adaptation of it. And, man, let me tell you, that visual novel... So not only is this one of my favorite anime of all time, but it is also one of my favorite video games of all time now. Steins Gate is just something else. It's very, very difficult to make a good time travel story that doesn't have any huge plot holes.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually managed to somehow fucking accomplish it in this. I'm sure there's plot holes somewhere, but it's nothing glaring. It's nothing egregious.
There always is, because time travel is inherently illogical, but they do their best. They do what every good time travel story should, and they keep it fucking consistent.
They have a rule. They have a rule set, and those rules are very strictly kept.
Adhered to until Steins Gate 0 fucking...
Until Steins Gate 0 just says fuck it and does whatever, because...
Yes, but the original adheres to it very strictly.
And the way it does it is phenomenal. Just like the build-up... The visual novel is very similar to how it's set up in the anime, where there's a whole lot of build-up to this big... the whole visual novel is basically just like you're just on a railroad track through most of the story. There's not really any... it doesn't really go anywhere in any other directions, but then once you hit that point where all hell breaks loose, that's where you actually start to get to the different endings. And the way that the show adapts all that is like pretty much perfect. considering they only had 24 episodes to adapt what is essentially a 40-hour game, it is phenomenal what they were able to do here. There is obviously some stuff in the visual novel that they do miss. One of my least favorite things about the show is in the very first episode of the show, there's a point where Kurisu is about to go into her discussion on time travel and stuff at the little convention seminar thing, and they just skip it all. And in the visual novel, it's a very long, like I think it's like a half hour or hour, like I forget how long it is, but it's a really long and detailed sequence about all the different kinds of time travel and why each one is illogical and why how they could work, but how they also don't make any sense in terms of real science. And it is mind-blowingly cool. It's so good. And the fact that they just completely skip over in the show, understandably so, because it's not really important to the story, but the fact that they skip over it is really frustrating because of how well it sets the mood of the rest of the story.
Well, Steins Gate is so confident in selling itself to you. Like, normally, like time travel stories are like, oh, like, you know, if you like, even like most science fiction stories, really, it's like, oh, if you like, you know, close your eyes and do a handstand, then, you know, maybe that makes sense. But like Steins Gate is so like determined to, like, you know, and so confident in its material when it's selling you it's like time travel and science, like in like machine information and whatnot, that like you're so much more inclined to buy it because you know that like the writing is like they have faith in the way that the writing is around it, and I think it's really cool.
Yeah, it's God, the visual novel is just so phenomenal, and the show does everything it can to be just as good. The characters are great. All the characters have a reason to be there. Even fucking Daru, as kind of like dumb as he may seem at first glance, he has a very important role to the story. Without him, the whole dynamic of the characters just wouldn't really work. All of them bounce off each other in very different ways, and the way that they do bounce off each other just makes for a very interesting story.
But it's like I really just enjoyed how the first half of the show was just like it. You have the beats of the time travel story at the same time, but it just does such a good job of making them feel like a group of friends.
Yeah.
So that when things start unraveling and it starts branching out into their own stories that then have to be undone, you feel the pain of Okabe having to make those decisions, just because of how well it links all those characters to him.
Right, and God, it's like all the build up to the midpoint and everything from that point on. Like you already kind of said it, Steve, but like just the way it kind of like how they're like kind of using the what do they call it again? The machine. I forget what they call it.
The D-mail?
The D-mail machine. Like there's a
computer?
The time loop machine.
Time loop machine, whatever it is. Like when they use it and like when they're like jumping to different world lines after sending all the D-mails, like kind of corrupting the timeline, and then you get to that midpoint where it's all where it's like, oh fuck, what have we done? Yeah. And you realize that they're just going back into a circle. Like I love the cyclical nature the whole story has. It starts at point A, goes to point B where shit is fucked, and then you have to go back, find a way to get back to point A again. But then when you're at point A, it turns out, oh, shit is fucked in point A as well. So you have to go to this other point, and the way that they do it is just so good. The visual, I love how they do it in the visual novel because, spoilers, I guess, for the visual novel. In the visual novel, when you get to that point, like to like the big finale, essentially, the credits start to roll, and then like all of a sudden everything gets quieter, like the song gets quieter. and the phone rings, and Okabe picks up the phone, and what's her face is on the other line. What's her name? Suzuha is on the other line, and she's like, Okabe, I need your help. World War III is going to happen. And it's like, well, fuck. And then like, oh god, it's just so good, and all the twists that happen in the end, like the realization of who the one scientist is, like everything has such a good fucking payoff, and there's not a single loose end that is not tied up. It's perfect. It's perfectly. It's just so perfectly brought together that it's just. It astounds me that they even thought they needed to make any more to this, because it's so perfect of a story on its own.
We talked about this when we fucking dissected Steins Gate Zero, but it's like to have a story that does not even have a central antagonist, because they were confident enough to make the central antagonist the nature of time itself, instead of having a stupid fucking villain in there for no goddamn reason. Like, there's just not a lot of stories like this that have the confidence to pull off such unique kind of storytelling that this went for, and
Shrine made it Zokabe.
Where are
if you kill him, you're just as bad as him. Don't worry about it.
Oh god,
Steins Gate's great.
It's
my number one anime of the decade.
It is so fucking good. It is absolutely phenomenal.
Omega.
Oh, my number one is Ping Pong the animation. 10 out of 10. It's fucking perfect. Frank, go.
How was the ping pong?
It was good.
Everything becomes Kenny, the perfect podcast.
my number one is Liz and the Bluebird.
Is that the gay one?
It's a spin-off / sequel to Hibike Euphonium that centers around Obo and Elbow and their relationship. It's fucking amazing. Yamada is incredible. Nishida's character designs are fucking amazing. And it's a very poignant story about, the nature of love. And while it's simple, it's incredibly, incredibly, incredibly effective. Talk about like Yamada like flexing her directorial chops. Like, it's an amazing follow-up to, Tomiko Love Story in particular. If you really want to see like her growth as a director, watch those two movies back to back.
Wait. Well, you have any JoJo on your list?
JoJo would be in my top like 25 probably. JoJo Part 4.
He's a fake JoJo fan.
Oh wow. Okay. Sorry. Continue.
No, yeah, Liz and the Bluebird. It's really good, especially if you liked Euphonium. If you want to watch the new Euphonium movie, like the Chikai no Finale movie, I would definitely suggest watching Liz and the Bluebird first, because those two movies do have a pretty fair bit of interplay, and they play off each other pretty well. But Liz is spectacular. It's absolutely riveting. The perfect movie. One of Kiyoani's best, if not Kiyoani's best outright. And, it's hard to talk about it considering what happened, but it's really, really good. Liz and Hyoka and Disappearance and like these are all masterpieces. I fucking love them. I love the studio. The industry would not be what it is without Kiyoani, and that's pretty much what I want to say. Like, going into the new decade, it's like, the loss is going to be felt.
Hopefully they bounce back.
Violet Evergarden is getting a movie, but the studio will not be the same, and it's just such a tragic and senseless loss of life and talent. And, the people that made these works that, have resonated with us in the way that they do, like, it's art. There's no two ways about it. And they'll live on through their work. But, it's it's hard. It's sad and it's hard, but that's the way it is. Sorry to end on such a somber note, but
that's okay. It's part of the story, so
yeah.
You can't really avoid it.
All right. Funk.
Yep, Funk.
Oh, Matt had the same number one.
Yeah, Matt and I had the same one.
All right. So it should be pretty obvious if you follow the Funk lore what my number one anime of the 2010s is. So it's the only one I have yet to talk about that I have professed an undying affinity for, which is Shirobako, which is truly an excellent piece of animation. But what I really liked about the show more than anything else was its themes. What it means to be creative, to have a passion, to take risks, to fail. Very, very universally appreciable themes. But when I watched the show, a lot of that was particularly relevant to my life at the time, which really carved out a special niche for it in my experience. So I think this show was very high quality for a number of reasons. I enjoyed the characters, I enjoyed the writing, but just where I was when I watched it and what it was about, just everything kind of clicked in a way that made it more special for me than it otherwise would have been. So it's a slam dunk. I never had any doubt what would end up being number one. So
all right, Colin, take us home.
I guess I'm done.
Okay.
Yes, you are.
Well, I just want to say, yeah, Funk is entirely right. That show is also on my list for a reason. It's fucking amazing. Colin will never appreciate it.
Hey, it's
Colin
in my
hates
top 25. It's in my top 25. What do you want from me?
Yeah, it was number 25. Calm down.
Oh man. Okay. So, when I started doing this, I was wondering to myself, and I mean in general, not just this podcast. I mean the whole watching seasonal anime crap thing. I was wondering to myself, okay, what do I want out of this? Well, obviously, I get to talk to you guys about stuff you're passionate about, and that's fun to do. But I also wanted to have something I could bring to the table and recommend to other people. I wanted to share something that I really loved with others and hopefully see that, they could at least like it too. That when I could recommend this show to somebody, they'd come back to me and they'd have this look of surprise on their face. They were surprised by how much they liked this show. And I wanted something that fit the mold of this medium, something that I could only picture being done in animation and being done as an anime, as Japanese animation. And there is really only one option for me. My number one anime of the decade is absolutely Mob Psycho 100.
Yeah.
Woo!
I would recommend this show to anyone, and I have recommended this show to a lot of people, and there's not been a single person who's come back and not enjoyed this show. It's such a universally likable show. I will probably never stop recommending this one and bugging people to go watch it, and I doubt I will ever come back with anybody who dislikes it.
Well, it works on so many levels, right?
Oh my god, it's a. I mean, maybe it's not a perfect show, but I do think it is a perfect recommendation, and it's something that I love sharing with others, which is one of the best things to get out of getting into any kind of media is just sharing your love of it with other people. So Mob's definitely my pick there.
I think it's really special that a show can simultaneously appear to be plot driven and appeal to people who like fights and spectacle, while just actually having a lot more going on under the hood all along, you know.
Like I said earlier, I don't think there's a single episode, except for maybe the Ritsu episode, when it focuses primarily on Ritsu's perspective. But I don't think there's not a single episode of Mob that doesn't feel like it pushes the character forward in some way,
right,
to a fully functional adult.
Well, a lot of people who watch anime are not that. No matter their age.
True, and maybe this is the show a lot of them need. Although it is astounding how many people fail to understand this show.
I think it's an easier trap to fall into, to watch something like this really passively, depending on your perception of anime. Because, like I said, this could really just appear to be another like shonen show about fighting things, if that's what you're primed to want to see, and you just don't really pay attention.
Yeah, and people come back from it being like, but the writer's a hypocrite because Reagan tells Mob not to be special, and then he saves the world because he's special. Like,
why did he stop Mob from killing that baby dude? What the fuck? He was supposed to kick his ass. You just stopped him from being awesome. What the fuck, dude? I'm going back to Dragon Ball. This is scary.
What do you mean he told Mob not to fight and then later trusted Mob after having gone through significant growth to go actually take care of business? What do you mean he did that?
Why didn't Mob just stay at 100%? If I was Mob, I would be 100% all the time.
100%.
That's not even true. You're like 10% all the time, man.
Yeah. Oh boy. So,
all right, we've
2010s.
officially lost control of our lives.
I'm tired, and you guys are probably more tired than me. So
I was up for a long time last night. I'm extremely tired.
Let's just call it, kids.
Well, we should say something profound to wrap up this anime in decades.
This was my first.
Well,
this was my first Luckycast, and I'll see you guys the next decade. I'll see you guys in 2030 for the 2020.
I'll say that now that we've been granted 2020 vision, we should all be able to see the good things in anime more clearly. So here's to a more positive 2020s.
I for one have had fun doing these podcasts with you guys.
Yeah, it was great.
So have I.
Oh my god, don't talk like you've been here the whole time.
What? I've been listening. I've been quoting and shit.
He's the quotes guy.
You're like the fifth Beatle.
Ah, thank you.
I'd just like to mention that during this whole, a large portion of this podcast, I've had ever since, I don't know why we referenced it, but someone referenced that Uganda eat the poo-poo video. That's been open in my tabs this whole time, and I glanced over to it, and I had to stop myself from cracking up every time.
Insane.
That's not the way I wanted to wrap up this podcast.
Is this what you want, Kyoto Animation? To eat the poo-poo?
2020 resolutions. Eat the poo-poo.
Are we bringing back Ugandan Knuckles?
No.
You know the way.
Well, never mind. Everyone, don't forget to say hi to Kenny, because he couldn't be here.
Hi, Kenny.
Even though he was salty about it, even though he didn't want to be here to begin with.
Yeah.
Go tweet at him.
Also, don't forget DL, who was briefly a part of this podcast. He was a good friend.
Yeah, we'll miss him.
We phased him out in favor of Colin.
We all know why. We all know that DL's favorite anime of the decade would be
Botany Galaxy.
Yeah, probably
that. Probably that. Or
Made in Abyss.
What?
He's losing it. We're all losing it.
All right, let's call it a night, kids.
All right. It's been fun.
All right, take care, guys.
Anime.
Bye, B.
Bye, guys.
Bye, B.
Bye.